B'Shem Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah. Bruchim Habayim. We are back here on our Wednesday night program to give a little bit of chizuk to Am Yisrael, to ourselves, some divrei Torah about what's going on in the world, what's going on in the parashat, what's going on in our holy Torah. Afochba v'afochba dakulaba. We delve into it because everything is in it. And then after that, Be'ezrat Hashem, you guys will ask some questions and Kadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur will be for the Refuah Shlema for Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Avimori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris Bat Jora, Atzlacha Rabat for Marsha Bat Julie, Ayla Bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Louis ben Marsha, Nathan ben Avraham, and Naomi bat Sarah, and all of Am Yisrael and all of the righteous Noahis that continue to learn with us, continue to toil in Torah, Baruch Hashem, with us. So with that being said, just a quick reminder, anyone that wants to watch the live shiurim, the best place to watch them is on bh.live, B as in Be'ezrat, H as in Hashem, .live. Also to download our app, the Be'ezrat Hashem app. It's on the app stores everywhere, Baruch Hashem. You can also donate on the app. Some people have found donating on the app much easier than donating even on the websites. Regardless of where you donate, it's obviously all good, Baruch Hashem. Aside from that, from anyone that wants to join the campaign for the sponsoring USBs, so you can get some USBs, 8 new USBs that we have to distribute in your community. You could go to tikkunabrit.live. tikkunabrit.live, T as in tikkun, I-K-K-U-N, Habrit.live. And over there you can sponsor the USBs, but actually receive them, unless you want us to distribute them. We actually have a few people that have bought the USBs and want us to distribute them, and we'll at some point put some of them that we don't have a place for on the Kiruv store for people to order and get. Of course, we have some people that are getting them already, but we'll put some of the USBs that are extras that people are sponsoring on the Kiruv store very soon, Be'ezrat Hashem. But of course, anyone that sponsors those USBs is not only getting a very big discount on the price of the USBs, but also is going to enter the raffle to potentially win a round-trip ticket to Eretz Yisrael to attend the extraordinary event we're going to have at the Great Synagogue of Jerusalem on August 4th. The Siyum Hashas, Siyum Mishnayot, Siyum Shulchan Aruch, Siyum Tikkun HaZohar, Siyum Zohar Kadosh, Zohar Chadash. Baruch Hashem, lots and lots of siyumim, lots of Torah, Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. So going to be some great rabbis over there. Everyone is welcome. Whether you sponsor or you don't sponsor, you're all welcome to come, to attend. Just let me know how many people you're bringing with you. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're expecting a very high turnout on the event. So the more the merrier. We're looking to fill up the place with about 1,500 people. So if you want to bring yourself and another 25 or 30 people with you, by all means, you're all welcome. Just let us know ahead of time so we can account for you. Be'ezrat Hashem. And of course, I also get the privilege of seeing some of my dear Talmidim and friends that have been watching our shiurim over the years. And some that I've seen in the past, some that I haven't, some that used to be here, local to us, Baruch Hashem. And more than anything else, the thing that I'm most excited about this trip, which perhaps we'll discuss tonight, maybe you guys could help me a little bit on it, is I'm finally going to see my very dear Rav. That all the money in the world cannot repay what Rav Ephraim has done for us, and it's been 5, 6, 7 years. Long time since I've seen my dear Rav. Of course, I talk to him every day, and we learn, Baruch Hashem. But to see your Rav, requires special preparation. And with that in mind, that's why we actually titled the first part of this lecture, "What is a rabbi?" What is a rabbi? Because many times, people, they either have somebody that they call a rabbi, but in reality the person that they have is more similar to a friend than they are to a rabbi. Other times, people really don't know how to behave with rabbis. They don't really know what it entails. They just think maybe perhaps, like someone told me today, there's a young man that actually learns Torah, but apparently did not know what actually having a rabbi means and what is a rabbi. And he told me, no, he says that he thinks that a rabbi is somebody that you could learn with and connect to. And that's in essence a very common definition. The truth is that when we'll see today is that that's actually not the definition. A rabbi is not necessarily someone that you learn with, but rather someone you learn from. And it's not necessarily somebody you connect to, but rather somebody that you honor no less than you honor God. Now, of course, some people hear this and they cringe. Like, whoa, hold on a second. What are you, idol worshiper? Let's see what the Torah Kedusha says. And for any of you that are thinking that I'm asking for anything, that I think I'm talking about myself here, let yourself settle down. I'm not referring to myself. I'm actually preparing myself to meet my very, very dear Rav and see him in real life, as you can say. And there's a lot of learning that I need to do and review in order to prepare for that very, very big day, Baruch Hashem. So we have ourselves a lack of understanding of what Rabbanim are, what a rabbi is. And again, I'm not talking about today the heretics and Apikosim and the ones that change the Torah and the ones that are saying God needs you, or the ones that say there's no reward and punishment. These are not rabbis. These are not Talmidim. These are heretics. These are Minim, Apikosim. These are people that are wicked. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you have somebody out there that is a rabbi, that's Talmid Chacham, that you call him even your rabbi. And the reason why I say him is because a rabbi can only be a male. It cannot be ever, in the history of mankind, it can never be a female, no matter what anybody will tell you and how many news outlets write articles about their disagreement with the Torah. A rabbi could only be a male. But again, whether it's a rabbi or not doesn't necessarily need much of our help to define, but rather whether it's your rabbi or not, that's a different story. Because in order for someone to be your rabbi, saying he's your rabbi doesn't actually make him your rabbi. And in fact, this is something that we have to know. What is having my rabbi? What does that actually entail? Is it even possible for someone? Is there a consequence for not having it? Does it have anything to do with this week's parasha? And the answer to all of them is yes, Baruch Hashem. So we have parashat Chukat. After the extraordinary machloket that took place in parashat Korach, Korach wanted to distort the Torah to his likings. He simply did not agree with the laws that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Moshe. He thought that Moshe Rabbeinu is in essence creating a new Torah, because that Torah that he says, those laws that he mentioned, didn't really jive with Korach's likings, especially since he got a little tidbit of Ruach HaKodesh where he saw that Shmuel, the prophet, Shmuel a Navi, will come from him, and he thought that Shmuel is going to be one of his sons. Little did he know, it's going to be one of his grandsons out of the sons that actually did not follow Korach, that actually followed Moshe Rabbeinu. And Korach obviously made the mistake of his eternity, and that's the reason why until this day, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 110, says that Korach is still burning in Gehenom until this day, and there's actually a place in the desert where you could hear him. Now, with that being said, we have now Parashat Chukat. Parashat Chukat starts with a law of the red heifer, which is a law that's beyond logic. One of the things that Chachamim teach us is that this law of the red heifer is connected to the whole machloket with Korach, is to teach us that just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not true. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not true. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean you won't be judged for it. And it's very important for a person to know that Parashat Chukat is in essence teaching us that the entire Torah itself is not necessarily something that a human being can understand with their logic. There are certain things that make logical sense, but that's not the reason why we observe them. We observe them because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed into the world that we have to observe certain things. The sages throughout history, including modern day sages that are poskim, that extrapolate the existing laws that were already paskined in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Rambam, and apply them to our day-to-day life. These are our sages, these are Gdolei Ador, these are our poskim, and this is what we live with. The Torah will never change. It's simply, we have existing laws that we apply to modern day society as society changes, whether it's be new technology, innovation, and so on. But again, whether you understand it or don't understand it, agree with it, don't agree with it, know it or don't know it, none of those things change the Torah itself. The Torah stays as is. And anyone that wants to know Torah has to know that they have to be willing to die for the Torah. And, meaning that they have to not just jump off of a bridge and say, God, give me Torah. No, but rather they have to toil in Torah, not just be spoon-fed and expect that they're going to become a scholar. They have to literally be willing to do everything and anything that they're willing, that is humanly possible in order to study Torah. That means that if you have a tight schedule, you wake up a certain time, you have to go to work, you have to pray, you have to come back from work, you have to be with the kids a little bit, with the wife, you have to sleep, you have to do all the things that regular people do. At some point, you have to make sure that during that schedule, you have yourself time slots in the morning and time slots at night to have your study schedule of Torah. And if that's not enough, if that's just to maintain, if you want to become a Talmid Chacham, you have to increase the time, increase the effort. How much? Literally to the point where you're killing yourself over the Torah. And one of the sources for that, for someone that wants to become a Torah scholar, someone that wants to actually truly acquire Torah and not think that they know a little bit of Torah because they watched some shiurim, they read some books, and perhaps they know a few things to say, a person needs to know, Zot HaTorah Adam ki yamut ba'oel. This is the Torah regarding a man who will die in a tent. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot says anyone that wants to acquire Torah has to be willing to die for it. As it says, this particular pasuk that we just said, a man that will die in a tent. Die in a tent meaning he's dying in a place where he's learning Torah. His whole life is going to be in the tent. It's not going to be on Facebook. It's not going to be on WhatsApp. It's not going to be with his friends. It's not going to be in socializing. It's going to be with the books. It's going to be with the Holy Torah. And even when a person learns a shiur like this one or others that we've done, if you want to listen to it for entertainment purposes, then you simply just watch and enjoy. If you want to learn the Torah, then you have to literally study the shiur. Anytime a rabbi mentions a source, you look up that source. You look up what's before it. You look up what's aside, in front of it. You write down a few things that were said that stood out for you that you want to commit to memory, and start filling out notebooks after notebooks after notebooks in order to study the shiur. Not only study what was said, but study the depth of what was said. Go over it, but most importantly, to do everything you possibly can to take advantage of any Torah that you have to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you truly love His Torah and you want to truly acquire it. Now, of course, Am Yisrael was, at the time of Parashat Chukat, they were Dora De'ah, they were the generation of knowledge, they were the generation that saw the words of God and also had the Nevi and Nevi'im, Moshe Rabbeinu, but needless to say, also Aaron and Miriam. And in this week's parasha, we have a major events where Miriam dies and is buried. And then after that, the water that was following Am Yisrael in her merit stopped. Am Yisrael started complaining. Moshe Rabbeinu goes and asks Hashem, pleads with Hashem what to do. Hashem says, go and speak to the stone. And this obviously is the famous story where Moshe Rabbeinu, instead of speaking to the rock, he hits the rock as a result of his frustration with Am Yisrael complaining. No one likes complainers, including Moshe Rabbeinu, including HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In fact, HaKadosh Baruch Hu nearly annihilated the people because of their complaints. Because when you complain, nothing good comes out of it. Even though there's a saying that says the squeaky wheel gets the oil, the truth is the complaining in itself, if it's for the sake of complaining, but rather instead of actually getting something done, those complaints get nothing done. In fact, they actually bring you back. And no one likes to hear it. But Moshe Rabbeinu saw that the Am Yisrael is already, with the death of Miriam, already has dropped a level in holiness, and immediately are returning to their complaining ways that have caused so much damage, have caused so much death. Whether it was Korach and his followers, whether it was the complaints about the man, or the complaints about the water initially, or all the other things that have happened in the desert, Moshe Rabbeinu sees that as soon as something changes, everyone falls, and he was very frustrated, and he actually called them rebels. He called them rebels, that and saying that Amina Sela Azeh Notzi Lachem Mayim, that shall we bring forth water for you from this rock? So of course the obvious is that Moshe Rabbeinu was rebuking them, but b'siyata d'ishmaya we had a chidush where we know that the Chachamim teach us that mayim, water, is also one of the things that is compared to Torah. Torah is like water, where water always goes to the lowest source. The person that's most humble that toils in Torah will end up becoming the most wise, will be gifted the most amount of Torah. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, how can we bring this water from you? How? When your hearts are still like a rock. As it says in the prophets that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at the end of days when Mashiach comes, He's going to replace our hearts that are made of stone into hearts that are made of flesh. And of course, the Gemara in Masechet Sukkah, in page 52b, says that if the Yetzer Hara comes to you, take him to the Bet Midrash, because if he is a stone, that holy Torah that you study in the Bet Midrash is going to crumble him. If he's like a piece of metal, then that holy Torah will make him explode. So here we see that Baruch Hashem, that Moshe Rabbeinu was in essence not complaining about the people wanting water to drink, but rather, how are you dropping in your spiritual level? Don't you realize this has ramifications? And of course, this did have ramifications, because this frustration led to more frustration. And immediately after they got the water, they continued traveling, and they decided to go send spies to go see what's going on in the land of Edom. This was not the instructions of God. This was simply them doing on their own. In fact, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them not to go to the land of Edom, not to go through it, because they're not going to let them go through. But still, they figured, let's go try. Perhaps we could buy the water. We could convince them to do it, because the Christians love money. The Edomites like money. They hate the Jews, but they like money. So if we give them some of the Jewish money, perhaps they'll let us go through. And we don't need their water, because we have free water now that everything happened with Moshe Rabbeinu. But they offer them the water to buy their water and whatever they consume, because they want to show them the Benjamins. This was not the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they went there. And what we see is initially it looks like there was not really much ramification from it, aside from the fact that the Edomites threatened to go to war with Am Yisrael. But the very next paragraph says that Aaron HaKohen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed that he was going to die. Aaron HaKohen has to go to Hora'ar. Hora'ar, it's translated loosely to Mount Hor, but the Midrash says Hora'ar means the mountain on top of the mountain. And in fact, there was some archaeologists, religious archaeologists, that followed this, and this is mentioned in Rabbi Zamir Cohen's book that we have in our Kiruv package, which of course you could buy on Amazon if you want just a book. But we have the book that's called The Coming Revolution, and in there it says that archaeologists actually found the gravesite of Aaron HaKohen, because it is on a mountain on top of a mountain. And the point being is that why is this connected to the whole issue of the Edomites? So, of course, anytime somebody wants to know something, all they need to do is simply look in the Holy Torah. Look in the Holy Torah, and what does the Torah says? So we look at the Midrash Rabbah, parashat Chukat, parasha Yutet Ot Tet Zayin. So 19:16. And it says in there, on the this particular section that talks about the Am Yisrael journeyed from Kadesh, and the children of Israel arrived, the entire assembly at Mount Hor. Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron at Mount Hor, by the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter the land, and I have given to the children of Israel, because he defied my word at the waters of strife. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor. Strip Aaron of his vestments, and dress Eleazar his son in them. Aaron shall be gathered in there and die there. So, says the Midrash, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu connect this particular section to the whole section of the Edomites? And even more so, what's the, why call it Hora'ar? What is all of this? So the Midrash says the following. This is the same concept, this, in essence, this whole thing, this is the same concept which the Torah states elsewhere, where Eliezer, the son of Dodava, of Maresha, prophesies about Yoshaphat, saying, because you have allied yourself with Achaziah, Hashem has wrecked your undertakings. This is in Chronicles 2, chapter 20, verse 37. And this is when Yoshaphat, who was a righteous person, he made friends with Achav. And this was a very, very big problem, because to befriend a wicked person is not a good idea. And in essence, loses the blessings, and there's a decree, and so on and so forth. Now, from there, and the pasuk that we just learned from this week's parasha, the Chachamim say the following. Here too, because Am Yisrael associated themselves with the wicked Esav by attempting to pass through his land, they lost the righteous Aaron HaKohen. And therefore the passage dealing with the gathering of Aaron is placed immediately after the passage of dealing with Israel's request from the king of Edom. For the Torah concludes that by saying that Israel turned away from near him. And then immediately begins the narrative of Aaron's passing. They journeyed from Kadesh. So here we learn something extraordinary, that not only did Am Yisrael make enough mistakes in the past, but they don't really realize the ramifications of their mistakes. Where HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't tell Am Yisrael to pass through the land of Edom, they did it anyway. They did it out of their own ideas. And after getting rejected by Edom, they figured, okay, no harm, no harm done. We didn't go to war, no big deal. But then Aaron HaKohen dies. Now what's the big deal of Aaron HaKohen dying? How much longer was he supposed to live? I mean, technically he's not going to be allowed to go into Eretz Yisrael anyway. So if you look at the timing, the dates, you look at Masechet Kala Rabbati, and also in Avot de Rabbi Natan, chapter 2, Mishnah number 14, it says that Aaron HaKohen was 123 years old. We entered Eretz Yisrael approximately 8 months. Approximately 8 months after Aaron HaKohen died. Meaning that Aaron HaKohen was supposed to live just like Moshe Rabbeinu, where right before we entered Eretz Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took his neshama. So in essence, 8 months. What's the big deal of 8 months? I mean, he lived 123 years. What's the big deal of having the great Aaron HaKohen, the great rabbi, the great Kohen, the great tzaddik, the great prophet, the great everything? Okay, so we missed out another 8 months. What's the big deal? What did we really lose? So these sources say that after Aaron HaKohen died, 80,000 children named Aaron came out and mourned him. Where did these children come from? These are the children that came from Aaron's toiling and mesirut nefesh and sacrifice in order to convince couples not to get a divorce, in order to convince couples to stay together and not continue the fights. And Aaron HaKohen succeeded in such a fashion that each time the couple stayed together, they were blessed with the child, and they named the child Aaron. 80,000 children. Now, how long did this take place? 40 years. 40 years they were in a desert. We know that because there was nothing, no shlom bayit to be made while they were in Egypt, despite the fact that Aaron was there. There was no shlom bayit to be made. The Egyptians rarely ever allowed the Jewish people to even have the chance to have shlom bayit, needless to say, to be intimate with each other. And this is also part of the reason why Hashem made each birth turn into 6 children, as if they were together 6 times. But the point is that Aaron HaKohen went on a mission to help shlom bayit, to help there be peace between a man and his wife over the period of 40 years that he was in a desert. The result of it was 80,000 kids. The basic math is, during those 8 months, a little over 1,300 kids would have come to the world, if not more, had Aaron HaKohen been alive. Now, this may not seem like a big deal out of 80,000, but of course, when we realize that each one of these kids is another Jewish neshama, where the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says in other places that En Ben David Ba, that the Mashiach is not going to come until all of the neshamot empty out from the goof. Of course, one of these children could have been a Gdol Ador, could have been a Mashiach, could have been a big rabbi, could have been something special, could have been a righteous person to bring more Kedusha to the world. The point being is that this is a very, very big number, because of course we realize that those few hundred, those couple thousand kids, or a little over 1,000 kids, could have literally turned into millions and millions more kids today. So we see here that the actions that a person can do, that the nation did, that didn't really seem like it really required much thought or it was such a big deal, actually had very dear ramifications. Where it started with complaining, that of course lowering ourselves in Torah and leading to making the wrong decision, thereby losing our rabbi. Losing one of the greatest people that ever lived in existence. Now, the question is, how does this really apply to us today? What does this have to do with anything for us today? Okay, so Aaron is gone. Does that really mean that I have to still mourn over it today? I mean, is this really something that's relevant to me today? So we have to look into our Holy Torah to see what our Holy Torah says about our leaders, about our rabbis, about who and what and when all of this means, how we can apply it to today. And we'll start off with the Gemara. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 110. A. Says the following. Amar Rav Chisda said, whoever challenges his Torah teacher, his rabbi, is like one who challenges the divine presence itself. As it says, the same Datan and Aviram who were summoned by the assembly, who contended against Moshe and Aaron among the assembly of Korach, when they contended against God. So here we see that a leader, not a political leader, chas v'shalom, we're talking about a rabbi, is a pretty big deal in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So much so that the Gemara brings source from last week's parashat Korach says, yo, you remember those Rishaim, Datan ve'Aviram? They went to war with God. Now, we don't remember that Datan and Aviram went to war with God. They went to war with Moshe. They argued with Moshe. They told him that they went there on Korach's side. They told him that he's trying to take advantage of everybody. They told him what they told him. And even when he tried to appease them, he tried to reason with them. They told him, listen, we're not going to come even if you took our eyes out because you did this to us and that to us. And the whole thing got really, really ugly, so much so that eventually the HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to punish all of them along with Korach. But it never said that they had a problem with God. They had a problem with Moshe. But God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He wrote a pasuk in His Holy Torah the way He interpreted their fight with Moshe. Saying that their fight with Moshe was contention against God. And the Gemara learns from there that whoever challenges his rabbi is challenging the divine presence, is challenging Hashem. Furthermore, Amar Rabbi Chama, the son of Rabbi Chanina, says even more. Says whoever picks a quarrel with his rabbi is like one who picks a quarrel with HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. He wants to get into a fight with his rabbi. Listen, you didn't tell me this. No, you didn't do this. You're late, you're early, you want this, you want that, you're too demanding, you're too crazy, you're too that. Okay, whoever picks a fight with his rabbi is picking a fight with the divine presence. Now, of course, so far we could say, oh yeah, but all of that is about Moshe Rabbeinu. It has nothing to do with anybody today. Let's see. Shene'emar, and they're also bringing another verse. This verse is also in Book of Numbers, chapter 20, verse 13. This is this week's parasha. They were at the water of strife, where the children of Israel quarreled with God. So here we see that, again, their complaints about the water, complaining to their rabbi about it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way He interprets it, is not necessarily the way they rationalize it and interpret it. They figured, no, my complaint is against my rabbi. He didn't give me the water. My complaint is against my rabbi. He didn't, give me the best chair in a synagogue. My complaint is against the rabbi that he didn't pay attention to me. That's my complaint. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, yeah, you're complaining about me. No, God, I love you. No. You're complaining about me. You're complaining about me. So now again, we could still say, yeah, this is about Moshe Rabbeinu. It has nothing to do with anyone today. Let's continue. Amar Rabbi Papa. Amar Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa. Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa says, whoever complains about his rabbi is regarded as if he complains about HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. My rabbi, he's not really that smart. My rabbi, he's like, like one of those, complaints. I'm not saying he says Lashon Hara about him, he hates him, he thinks he's, no, we're talking about, it's my rabbi, I love my rabbi. But my rabbi, I love my rabbi, but I love, sometimes he's do XYZ. Says the Gemara, he complains about his rabbi. He's complaining about God. What God? What are you talking about? How do you compare? They're given a verse. What's the verse? Not against us are your complaints, but against God. Again, Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Am Yisrael, you're complaining about what? Us? We're nothing. You're complaining about God. We're simply messengers. Amar Rabbi Abahu. Rabbi Abahu says, whoever thinks ill of his teacher, not only, we're not talking about someone who picks a fight with him. We're not talking about somebody that's contending against him. We're not talking about somebody that is complaining against him. We're not even talking about somebody that thinks, he's not really the greatest. We're talking about somebody that in his mind, thinks ill of his teacher is regarded as if he thinks ill about the divine presence. As it says, again, they bring another verse. In Numbers chapter 21, verse 5, the people spoke against God and against Moshe. So now, this is a Gemara. We don't paskin halacha from the Gemara. So the question is this applicable to us or not? So we have to go to the halacha. And we did. Rambam. Ilchot Talmud Torah. Chapter 5. Highly recommend people read the entire chapter. It's not very long. It only has about 13 halachot. But this Ilchot Talmud Torah chapter 5 is in essence the rabbi laws. How to treat your rabbi, who, what, when, and how. And before you call somebody, oh no, that's my rabbi. That's my rabbi. It's very important for a person to know that what does it mean he's your rabbi? Now what does it mean for him? What does it mean for you? What do I have to know every single day in order to deal with my rabbi? And even more so, if I'm going to see him, I have to not just know this, I have to ingrain this into my heart. I have to ingrain this into my mind. I have to ingrain this into my behavior. So the first halakha is relatively simple. First halakha talks about how a person, the Rambam says in the chapter 5, first halakha, a person is commanded to honor his father and hold him in awe. So too he's obligated to honor his teacher, his rabbi, and hold him in awe. But who comes first? Indeed, the measure of honor and awe due to his rabbi exceeds that due to his father, because his father brings him into the life of this world, but his rabbi, who teaches him wisdom, brings him into the life of the world to come. So here we see that even the commandment, the biblical commandment of honor your father and your mother, is in essence, has a subdivision. Subdivision. What's the subdivision? Of course you have to honor your parents. But if there is a issue at hand where there is honor to give to your rabbi versus honor to give to your father, you can't do both at the same time. The honor to the rabbi goes first. And the Rambam gives a few examples. If he saw that there was a lost object belonging to his father and one lost object belonging to his rabbi, the lost object belonging to his rabbi takes precedence. If his father and his rabbi are both carrying loads, he should relieve his rabbi's load and then his father's. If his father and his rabbi are held captive, hostages, terrorists, imach shimam v'zichram, took his father, took his rabbi, they're both hostages, they're captives. Who does he release? Logic would say, his father. Torah says, his rabbi. He should redeem his rabbi and afterwards redeem his father. There is an exception to the rule. If his father is also a Torah scholar, says the Rambam, then he should redeem his father first. Even if he's not in the same level as his rabbi, still if he's a Torah scholar, his father takes precedence. Now, here we see already that the way that the Torah treats a rabbi according to halacha is a little bit different than we thought. Even when it comes to something personal and something that's on the Ten Commandments. The Rambam continues, and he says, there is no greater honor that is due to his rabbi, and no greater awe that is due to his rabbi, such as the sages declared in the Mishnah in Masechet Avot chapter 4, Mishnah number 15. Your fear of your rabbi should be equivalent to your fear of God, your fear of heaven. Who here is scared of his rabbi as much as he's scared of God? Every week we try to convince the public to be scared of God. To say that people will be scared of their rabbi as much as they're scared of God, this is far removed from most people. Especially when many times people have become accustomed to calling their rabbis by their first name. Hey, Steve. Hey, Yossi. Hey, Yaron. Hey, Ephraim. Hey, this one. Hey, that one. Is it a problem to call the rabbi a really friendly name, first name basis? I mean, you know him for so many years. He's like family to you. Can you just give him a big hug, a kiss, and slap him a high five? If he's your rabbi, so far it doesn't look like it. If he's your friend, do what you want. Because according to halacha, so far, we see that the Rambam paskins exactly like the Gemara. And he's going to repeat everything that the Gemara just said. In a moment, we're going to read it. Where the Rambam is saying that the fear that the person is supposed to have of their rabbi is supposed to be as much as they fear heaven. And therefore, the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim that the Rambam is bringing, Masechet Pesachim, page 22b, that is equating the fear of a Torah scholar to the fear of that's due to Hashem. The Rambam says, whoever disputes the authority of his rabbi is considered as if he revolts against the divine presence, as implied in Numbers 26:9, who led the revolt against God. Whoever engages in controversy with his rabbi is considered as if he engaged in controversy with the divine presence. As it says, where the Jews contested with God and where he was sanctified. Whoever complains against his rabbi is considered as if he complained against the divine presence. As implied, your complaints are not against us, but against God. And whoever thinks disparagingly on his rabbi, is considered as if he thought disparagingly of the divine presence. As implied, Numbers 21:5, and the people spoke out against God and Moshe. Here we see that the Rambam literally copies exactly what the Gemara says. The difference here is, this is halacha. Now, if it's a midrash, if it's a Gemara, it's not always halacha. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But once it's halacha, it's final. Now, you could say, yeah, but that's the Rambam. What about the Shulchan Aruch? Shulchan Aruch. Siman 242. Halacha bet. Same exact language. Copied and paste what the Rambam says. Is how the Shulchan Aruch paskin la halacha. Meaning, this is the Torah and it will never change. Halacha number 2. What is the meaning of disputing the authority of the rabbi? A person who establishes a house of study where he sits and explains and teaches without his rabbi's permission, in his rabbi's lifetime. This applies even when one's rabbi is in another country. So he gives example. What is the disputing the authority of his rabbi? Simple. You start teaching without getting your rabbi's permission. This is obviously one of many examples. We'll go in other things also. You'll be surprised at what's called a heretic and who's called a heretic. Not just something bad, but nonetheless, he says that if somebody just simply decides to start teaching without their rabbi's permission, during their rabbi's lifetime, even if their rabbi lives in a different country, and it won't be like he's taking his students, it won't be like he's taking his place in a synagogue. No. He lives in Bangladesh and he lives in Israel. You didn't ask him for permission? That is a problem. That's like picking a dispute with God. It's forbidden to ever render halachic judgments in his rabbi's presence. And whoever renders halachic judgments in his rabbi's presence is liable for a death penalty at the hand of heaven. Meaning, somebody asked the rabbi, Rabbi, listen, there's a shayla in our community about this, and the other thing. What does the rabbi think? And a student jumps, no, that's allowed. He wants to show, I know, Rabbi, I know. That moment that he says, give the guy the answer, and it's the right answer. In Shamayim said, death penalty, Steve, check. Why? You just desecrated the Torah. Desecrated Hashem's name. You said an halacha in front of your rabbi? What are people going to think about your rabbi? That he doesn't know anything? That he's not sharp enough? That this, that? The average person won't think like this. The average person won't think like this. Why? Because the average person thinks, no, what? It's good. I answered. What? I was able to do it. Now, what about if you see somebody sinning? See somebody driving on Shabbat and your rabbi is over there and your rabbi didn't say anything. What do? Halakha number 3. If a person asks a student regarding an halachic question and they are 12 mil, like 12 miles between him and his rabbi, he's permitted to answer. To prevent a person from sinning, it's permitted to give an halachic judgment even in the presence of one's teacher. For example, if one sees a person performing a forbidden act because he's unaware of the prohibition or because of his perversity, he should try to prevent this person by telling him, this is forbidden. This applies even in his teacher's presence, and even though one's teacher had not given him permission. Why? So if, you see somebody's making a sin, somebody driving on Shabbat, somebody's about to eat something not kosher, somebody's hugging some female in public, to rebuke them is always allowed, even if your rabbi is over there. Why? Because their sin is a desecration of God's name. And the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says, in a place where there's desecration of God's name, there's no deference paid, there's no honor paid to the rabbi. Meaning that you don't take the rabbi's honor above God. But the honor of the rabbi is in essence what a person is supposed to give and compared to the honor he gives to God. Now, a person that wants to teach has to either wait for his rabbi to die or for his rabbi to give him permission. And even if his rabbi dies, it doesn't necessarily mean automatically, the Rambam says, that he's permitted to teach. Halakha number 4. Any student who is not worthy of rendering halachic judgments and does so is a fool, a rasha, and an arrogant. As it says in Proverbs chapter 7 verse 26, she has cast down many corpses. It applies to him, says the Rambam. Meaning a person that just decides to start teaching without getting any permission, without really knowing what he's doing. Rambam says, you have a stamp. Stamp, Rambam signed it. You are an idiot, you're wicked, and you're also arrogant. No, but why? Everybody liked my shiur. You know, those 16 guys over there who were all eating potato chips while I was telling them different things. Okay, so Rambam sent you a letter. It's dated from 800 years ago. Why? Who gave you permission? Who gave you permission? If your rabbi gave you permission, even the Ramah says a rabbi giving permission to a student to go teach in Paskin, it's like a rabbi is giving him a smicha. But if you just do it on your own because you thought it's a good idea, thought it's a good idea to go make YouTube videos, thought it's a good idea to go do whatever it is that you're doing, without asking your rabbi's permission, you have a very serious problem. The next halakha that the Rambam writes, and he says, this is shocking to most people, especially young people. Unfortunately, even older people. I've heard this happen a few times. It's forbidden for a student to refer to his rabbi by name, even outside his presence. Meaning, when you talk about your rabbi, you can never in your life call your rabbi by his first name. Oh, Rabbi Steve is his name. You call him Steve. Why? Because you know him for 20 years already. You know him for 20 years. Rabbi David. But you know David since he was since he was a teenager. So you call him David. Dudu, come over here. We're going to have a Brit Milah. Rambam says that that's not allowed. What does it mean, Rambam says it's not allowed? Well, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 100a, says a person that calls his rabbi by name is considered, according to the Torah, as an apikos, heretic. Why? Because he called his rabbi by his first name. Called his rabbi by his first name. This, Rabotai, is as real as it gets, but unknown, apparently, in many circles. He goes into more details about naming names, but we're running out of time a little bit, so we're going to go on. Halakha number 6. The type of respect that he has to give his rabbi, that the person should not, when he prays, should not pray in front of his rabbi or behind him directly. He should not go to the bathhouse together with his rabbi, or sit in his rabbi's chair, or stand where his rabbi is, where he typically stands. Let's say the rabbi has the bima, he gives a shiur every day or every week from this place. The student not even allowed to stand there, unless he gets the rabbi's permission. He just decides, let me just go, let's pretend like I'm the rabbi, guys. You're violating the Torah. Now I know there's going to be many people that say, no, this is too much, this is do this. Okay, pick a different religion. I'm sure that Islam is looking for some people. Christianity is always missionizing. Buddhists are also looking for people. This is what Torah says. Now, a person that wants to be Jewish, wants to observe the Torah, has to know these things. Why? Because the Rambam writes here that when a person leaves his rabbi's presence, let's say he just met with his rabbi, or he just saw his rabbi, he leaves. He should not turn his back to the rabbi. Rather, he should walk backwards, meaning he should treat him as a living Sefer Torah, like the Kotel. He's obligated to stand before his rabbi from the time he sees him, from far away. Not he sits down until 30 seconds before the rabbi comes and he stands, hey rabbi, what's up, man? How's everything? This is what happens today. Very common. People give high fives to their rabbis. Now again, if the rabbi is okay with it, no problem. But if you decided that that's the standard, then it's a problem. Deference should not be shown to a student while he's in the presence of his rabbi, unless it's customary for the rabbi to also show him deference. A student who saw his rabbi transgress the words of Torah should tell him, Master, you have taught us such and such. Meaning, even if he sees his rabbi making a mistake. He's making a mistake. Even him telling his rabbi that he made a mistake has to be done with Yirat Shamayim, has to be done with a certain fear and respect that perhaps it's you that is mistaking, not the rabbi. Meaning that you seeing your rabbi just make himself a coffee. You guys just had lunch. You ate some meat. And then you see the rabbi making a coffee with milk. So to you, it's like, wait a minute, rabbi, you could say, like people say, oh no, rabbi, don't do it. You could do that and get punished in Shamayim. Or you could say, Kvod Harav, you taught us that, you have to wait 6 hours after you eat meat, before you drink dairy. Didn't you say that? You mean you have to act like you're questioning yourself even. Why? Because surely if he's doing it, there has to be something there. Either it completely escaped his memory, but that's very far. That's not the first choice. The first choice is just to remind him, maybe I misunderstood what you taught us. Little do you know that the milk that he has is soy milk. And he's allowed because it's not dairy. But the point being is that even when you see what looks like a sin, you have to ask in a certain way to see, perhaps it's me that's mistaken and not my rabbi. Whenever a student mentions teachings of his rabbi in the rabbi's presence, he should tell him, you Kvod Harav have taught us the following. And you say what he said. And he should not mention something that he heard from a different teacher in the presence of his rabbi, unless he's mentioning who said it. Meaning, if you're going to mention something that Rabbi B said in front of your rabbi, you have to say, oh, and we heard from Rabbi B that he said A, B, C. Now, in Halakha number 10, he says that every student that has proper character will not speak in front of anyone who is wiser than he is, even if he has not learned anything from that person. Meaning, even if a person is not your rabbi, but you see that there's a different chacham in the room that's bigger than you, they tell you speak, say no, it's a bigger chacham of you, let him talk. If the rabbi has is a outstanding, what's called he desires to let go of his honor, forgo his honor with regards to certain matters, he's allowed to, but the student cannot decide to forgo the honor that he owes the rabbi. And just as the students are obligated to honor their rabbi, the rabbi is obligated to honor his students and encourage them, meaning that the honor is different, obviously, but nonetheless, the rabbi has to treat his students with respect. Where it says in the same Mishnah in Avot, it says that the honor of your students should be as dear to you as your own. I mean, the rabbi is also supposed to treat his students in a fair way, in an honorable way, because the next halakha, the Rambam says that we even learned from David HaMelech that love Torah, chase the Torah, learn Torah non-stop, and he says that he learned a lot from his rabbi, he learned a lot from his colleagues, but the most he learned from his students. So up to here, this is in essence the entire section, the entire chapter 5 of the Rambam, about the halachot of the person that calls somebody his rabbi. Now, what if I don't feel like it? What if I don't feel like it? What if I don't feel like it? I don't feel like it. I don't want to call him. I don't want to give this rabbi my respect. I want to treat him the way I want to treat him. I want to disagree with him when I disagree with him. I want to do whatever I feel like it. What if I do? What if that's the case? Is there a consequence? Is there a consequence to being a person that simply wants to determine the law according to his likings? Is there a consequence? The answer, of course, is yes. There's always a consequence. What's the consequence? Midrash Rabbah quotes the same exact Gemara with the same exact sources. But here, he adds a little bit. What does the Midrash say? Midrash Rabbah, parashat Ba'alutecha, in parashat Tet Vav, which is 15, section 17. On the verse, Hashem said to Moshe, gather me 70 men from the elders of Israel. The Chachamim learned this. Halakha. This is a law. Within how many amot must one stand before an elderly person? This is a person that's Talmid Chacham, not even his rabbi. Somebody is Talmid Chacham. Did our sages teach regarding this matter? Yes. Within 4 amot. He's obligated to stand before an elderly person. As it says, in the presence of an old person shall you rise. And furthermore, he has to greet him within 4 amot. Can't just Talmid Chacham walks in and you're busy. No, you have to greet this person. And what is this honor that the Torah spoke about when it said, in the continuation of the verse, where it says, and you shall honor the presence of the sage, and you shall fear your God? What is that referring to? So the Midrash says, this means that one may not stand in the Chacham's place, in a rabbi's place, and he may not sit in his place, and he may not contradict his words. And when he asks the rabbi a question, or in regards to a halacha, he must ask with trepidation. And he may not leap to respond to the sage, where the sage is saying something. Does anybody know? And he's like, I know, you just got to... No. Why? You have to, even the way you respond, you speak to the rabbi, has to be done a certain way. Why? Because again, Torah is telling us the fear of this rabbi has to be the fear of God. Now again, the ignoramuses of the world are going to tell you that, oh, this is idolatry, or this the honor only belongs to God, and all types of other mumbo jumbo. But that obviously shows that people don't know anything. We have Torah here, not me or anybody else. Simply, this is what Torah says. This is the law. This is the law. There's no other law. The other laws belong to other religions, and they have a place in Gehenom. Now, he may not leap to respond to the Chacham, and he may not interrupt the Chacham while he's speaking. And what about if he doesn't want to listen? What about if all the stuff, I don't like it. I want to do whatever I want. And anyone who does not act towards the Torah, to his rabbi, in accordance with all of the above mentions, not just some of them, all of them. Anyone who just doesn't feel like it, doesn't act this way, is called a rasha, a wicked, before God. And if that's not enough, all of the Torah that this person knows will be forgotten. You studied for 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 years, you disrespected the rabbi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu literally has a din in Shammai, says, you know what, today let's just take out all of his Torah that he knows for the last 20 years, let's make him forget all of it. Shem Yishmo. Anyone that learned Torah knows that this is literally, sounds worse than Gehenom. And his lifespan, if that's not enough, his lifespan is shortened. He's only 35, 45, 55. Hashem says, oh, you disrespect the rabbi? Okay, you're old enough. And in the end, you will become poor. So he figures, listen, I have a lot of money, I don't need these rabbis, I can do whatever I want. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, yeah, you had a lot of money. Turns this person with a lot of money to somebody that doesn't have a lot of money. Somebody that asks for money, with his hands, Shem Shmo. Why? Simple. Something simple. We're not talking about a big deal. We're not talking about driving on Shabbat, eating pig, murdering people, idolatry. We're talking about disrespecting the rabbi or not respecting him enough. Something that, unfortunately, today, Hashem Yirachem, is... And this, the Midrash says, is considered as if anyone who doesn't follow these things, considered as if he does not fear God. Meaning he can say, listen, I believe in Gehenom, I believe in Kafakela, I believe in this, I believe in that. But if he doesn't respect the rabbis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says he doesn't believe in God enough to fear him. He can say the words, but the words don't mean anything. Now, one can say that, oh yeah, but isn't it just about Moshe Rabbeinu? And then the answer is no. How do we know it's no? Because we have halacha. Halacha that was paskin by the Rambam, halacha that was paskin by Shulchan Aruch. All of these are applicable today. Now, needless to say, there's a reason for all of this. What's the reason? The first Mishnah in Masechet Avot says the following: Moshe קיבל תורה מסיני, ומסרה ליהושע, ויהושע לזקנים, וזקנים לנביאים, ונביאים מסרוה לאנשי כנסת הגדולה. הם אמרו 3 דברים, הביאו מתונים בדין, והעמידו תלמידים הרבה, ועשו סייג לתורה. The first Mishnah in Masechet Avot is a Mishnah that you really should know by heart and teach your kids by heart, because it's a Mishnah that is the most critical one for a person to know if they're going to be a Jew, if they're going to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if they're going to follow the Masoret that we have. And this Mishnah is about the Masoret, where it says all of Israel have a share in the world to come. Why do they have all share in the world to come? So it says the first Mishnah, Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah from God, who revealed himself in Mount Sinai, and transmitted the Torah to Yoshua ben Nun. And Yoshua ben Nun gave it to the elders, the Skinim. And the elders gave it to the prophets. And the prophets transmitted it to Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, the men of great assembly. And they said 3 things: be deliberate in judgment, develop many students, many disciples, and make a protective fence for the Torah. So what does that have anything to do with anything? Am Yisrael distinguish itself from the rest of the nations, not just in our behavior, when we talk about Kedusha, holiness, and so on, but the most critical core of Am Yisrael is our tradition, our Masoret. That we know that whatever we do today connects us to our rabbi, who connects to his 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 rabbi, all the way to Shulchan Aruch, all the way to the Rambam, all the way to the Geonim, all the way to the Amoraim, all the way to the Tanaim, all the way to the Zugot, all the way to Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, all the way to David HaMelech, all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu, all the way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know that everything that we do today, that's Mount Sinai. That's Mount Sinai. So the reason why the Psak Halacha is the fear of the rabbi and not the fear of Moshe Rabbeinu is because that rabbi, if he's a kosher rabbi, if he has Yirat Shamayim, if he teaches the truth, if he is a Talmid Chacham, if this is a rabbi that you want to call your rabbi, that means that you have decided that this is the connection to that chain. That chain that connects you to Mount Sinai. It's not an intermediary, chas v'shalom, like some heretics would think. Oh no, that you don't need anybody to connect you to God. You do. You don't pray to anybody other than God. But to connect you to God, to know what God wants, you need a rabbi. And he himself needs a rabbi. And he himself needs a rabbi. And he himself needs a rabbi. And they all connect to the rabbis from the previous generations all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu. Because if you simply decide, I don't need this chain, I don't need this rabbi to connect me to the chain, I'll connect to the chain myself. That mentality in itself separates you from the chain. Because even Moshe Rabbeinu had a rabbi, Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. But Yeshua ben Nun had a rabbi, Moshe Rabbeinu. And all of those elders had a rabbi, that's Yeshua ben Nun. And so on and so forth. The Rambam had a rabbi. The Ramban had a rabbi. Rabbi Yosef Karo had a rabbi. The Arizal had a rabbi. All of Am Yisrael has to have a rabbi. If you don't have someone that you say, that's my rabbi, in essence, you have decided to separate yourself from that Masoret. On the other hand, if you say, no, that's my rabbi, I have a rabbi and that's my rabbi, that means you have to take all of those laws that were paskin halacha into account when you communicate either to or about that person you call my rabbi. And it's not necessarily a simple thing to do, because if you have a personable rabbi, if you have a good relationship with your rabbi, if you feel open with your rabbi, if you learn with your rabbi, if you are simply, you have a long history, you're comfortable with your rabbi, it's very easy to forget what my rabbi means. Hence the reason, Rabotai, why it doesn't matter how many times you learn these laws. If you're going to meet your rabbi, you have to review them and remember them. And in fact, if you're going to meet even a Talmid Chacham, that's not your rabbi, you have to review them. We'll finish with a story before you guys ask some questions. When Rav Ovadia, Alav Shalom, came to the United States, he wanted to spend some time with Rav Moshe Feinstein, Alav Shalom, one of the forefathers of American Judaism, one of the greatest sages that ever lived. Rav Moshe Feinstein was not only someone unique in his extraordinary wisdom, but he was extraordinarily humble, literally, like his name precedes him. And Rav Moshe Feinstein was a giant, and Rav Ovadia was a giant, and Rav Ovadia wanted to meet him. When they got to the place, when they got to the Bet Midrash, Rav Ovadia told his driver, please pray for me that I survive this meeting. Survive? He survived. Rav Moshe Feinstein is going to beat him up. When a person, the more they know Torah, the more they understand the significance of the fire of Torah, of holiness, what it really is, what it entails, what are the consequences of simply being ignorant or oblivious of it, or simply caring less about it. When one of the greatest sages that lived ever, Rav Ovadia, is telling his assistant, please pray for me. Why? I'm going to meet a chacham named Rav Moshe Feinstein. That's it. I'm not going to go fight with him. I'm going to go meet him. Talk to him for a few minutes. Pray for me that I survive. If he is that concerned, needless to say, we need to be also. Perhaps a person will take some of these things into account when they say, I have a rabbi, or I don't have a rabbi, because if I don't have a rabbi, I don't have the connection to Moshe Rabbeinu. And if I do have a rabbi, do I really follow what's obligated? Just like I follow milk and meat, halachot, just like I follow Shabbat laws, just like I follow family purity laws, or do I just, coasting? The beautiful thing is that the ultimate goal of these halachot that you'll read from the Rambam, it's also mentioned in the Mishnah, it's mentioned in the Midrash, is that the rabbi, it's not himself that's getting this honor, but rather his Torah. The Torah that he has, the Torah that he acquired. That's in essence the honor that you're giving the rabbi. It's not giving the rabbi a honor because he has a good memory, or you're giving a rabbi honor because he's good looking, or he's old, or he's young. No, you're giving him honor because of the Torah that he acquired by literally killing himself in the oil. That Torah is connecting you to that chain that connects you to Moshe Rabbeinu, that chain that connects you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When a person understands the significance of that, everything else becomes easier. But when a person is too arrogant to see anything beyond themselves, and when you're talking about them, they're literally looking at the girl or the guy behind them and say, yeah, it's probably about this guy. And they can't even get out of their own way. This is why one of the halachot that the Rambam says is that the rabbi needs to allow his students that want to give him respect, needs to do it. Why? Because that honor is going to give them yirat shamayim. How is that honor going to give them yirat shamayim? Because by them connecting to these halachot, they're going to connect to that chain. That chain is going to connect them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And ultimately, the more you connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more you fear him. In essence, that's the goal of all of it. The goal of all of it is to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a much deeper scale. Where if we simply decide that we have a new way, a new testament, a new tradition, that thought process in itself disconnects us from everything. On the other hand, if we aspire to be that student that is going to die in the oil, that's going to toil and learn Torah, and not think we're going to know all, but we rather need to find somebody that can teach us. We can find somebody that we can learn from. We can find somebody that connects us to that chain. Perhaps that will allow us to live a full life, full of Torah, full of mitzvot, full of chesed, in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu willed it, and not the way that the Satan always tries to confuse us into doing. B'ezrat Hashem, this too will connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a much deeper scale, and help each and every single one of us connect to Hashem in the best possible way, and the only way that He wants. With that being said, I'm going to have a drink, and you guys could ask some questions. Okay, first question I see from Charlie. Please don't forget to. Oh, thank you very much, Charlie. Yes. Listen to Charlie. He says, please don't forget to donate. Thank you. Let's see. For anybody that's on Facebook, you could also donate by pressing there's a donate button, I think, under the screen. Or you can go to the websites and so on. Okay, Robert is asking, do the laws of Nedarim apply to non-Jews if a Neder vow came out of his mouth? No, there's no laws of Neder for the non-Jews, no. Jeremy, can I let my family use my credit card so I can reach the spending for the sign or on bonus? Yeah, I mean, the credit card company doesn't really care who's the one that's using it, whether it's you or it's your friend or it's your family, as long as you pay the card. Question, Charlie's. Could you explain how the Torah feels towards abortion? Okay. So the Gemara says in Masechet Sotah, Shofech dam ba'adam damu yishafech. Also in Masechet Nida, I believe, that they get from parashat Noach, that someone that spills blood of a man within a man, his blood will be spilled. Now, of course, we know that some Chachamim say that the blood of a man within a man is referring to his seed, but the Gemara also says the blood of a man within a man is referring to a embryo. When a woman is pregnant and she decides to have an abortion, the Torah considers it as 100% murder. Now, this is again referring to an abortion after 40 days. After 40 days, because within the first 40 days, it's not considered a baby, and there is a more leniency, not lechatchila, but there's more leniency if there are certain situations, whether it's coming from a rape or intermarriage or something like that. If it's within the first 40 days, of course, you have to go to a chacham that's going to tell you who, what, when, and how within those first 40 days. We had a situation one time where a woman made a mistake. She was with somebody that she should have never been with, and she asked us what can she do, and the advice was that she would take a pill that was a morning after pill or a Plan B or whatever it was called at the time. I think they're both two different types of pills, but the point is, I think it was the morning after pill. And the reason why is because even though this traditionally wouldn't be allowed just, as a standard, it was allowed in this case because this was an issue of intermarriage, a Jew and a Gentile. So to eliminate that issue, that was allowed, again, that was within a matter of days, certainly within the first 40 days. But if it's after the first 40 days, unless the embryo that's in the body, the baby that's in the body of the mother, is endangering the mother's life, meaning if she continues the pregnancy, she could die because of the pregnancy, not because some guy is going to kill her or she's going to be depressed or she's not going to have money, but rather because literally there's a physical issue here, a health issue here that endangers the woman, then she's not allowed to have an abortion, even if that child came from something that's unplanned, from promiscuity and so on. And of course, the liberals out there, some of them even call themselves rabbis, are writing to the media today because the U.S. government Supreme Court ruled to in essence outlaw this Roe versus Wade, this whole abortion laws that in essence allowed over 20 states, nearly half the United States, that is against abortion, to allow them to pretty much prohibit abortion in their states. This Roe vs. Wade situation has been something we've been following closely for years. I'm very surprised that this is what happened. It's a good development, but don't think for a moment that it ends here, because certainly the liberals, the lefties, the anti-Torah are going to do whatever they can to try to reverse this decision in some way or another. But the point being is that what is shameful is that you have people that represent themselves as Jews. Some of them even call themselves rabbis. Of course, they're all Reform, but the public doesn't know that. and they call themselves rabbis, and they're saying that not allowing abortion is against the Torah, it's against God, and all types of stupid things. So according to the Torah, if there is a life risk, if there's a life risk to the mother, then yes, an abortion, if the abortion is the only option, then abortion it is. But without a life risk, there is no permission to kill a baby. And the fact that a person doesn't understand that doesn't mean that they don't understand what's inside their body, because they think that just because they don't see it, that means it's not a person. It's it's a schnitzel. It's a steak. It's some type of donut or something. No, you have a real human being inside your body. After 40 days, there's a real person there, and there are actually labs and different organizations in Eretz Yisrael, and of course in other places, that show the development of that baby in the body, and even show, the lab in Eretz Yisrael, the organization in Eretz Yisrael has a lab over there, and they show literally real tests where you see that the evil person that calls himself a doctor, that's a murderer, really, it's a mass, it's a Hitler, a little Hitler with a medical degree. That he's trying to kill the baby, and you actually see in the camera, you see in the actual video, that the baby is doing whatever it can to escape the knife, escape the plier that he's going to kill him with. So you see, obviously, if this is not a real baby, how does he know enough that he's about to get killed? Why is he running away from it? So the point being is that anytime a person commits this sin of abortion, they should know that in heaven, they're judged as a murderer. Now, anyone that has already made this mistake, without obviously knowledge of it being this way, or even if with knowledge that abortion is not good, can still do tshuva while they're alive. It's obviously not easy, and it's obviously not overnight, but a person needs to know that so long as you're alive, you can do tshuva for practically anything. Tshuva for everything is a several step process. The first thing is to never do it again. Step number 2 is to put a fence around it, meaning that you have to learn about the subject in order to become more well-versed, because the more well-versed you learn about the things that are in the Torah, the more you connect to them, the stronger you get against that evil inclination that tries to test you again, that tries to make you fail again. And also, that fence also includes not being at certain places that will entice you to repeat the sin, and not acting in certain ways that cause you to repeat the sin. So if it's abortion, obviously it's certainly, promiscuity is the number one leading cause of abortion. It's not rape. It's not incest, like the media would like for people to believe. Oh, how can you not allow abortion? What if she just got raped by her brother? And what if he just got... These are unlikely circumstances. Sure, these horrible exceptions do happen, but they're literally not even a fraction of a percent. There's not even a fraction of a percent. The average abortion is not coming from rape. It's not coming from incest. It's coming from promiscuity. That's what it's coming from. It's coming from stupidity. That's where it's coming from. That's the average. The average abortion starts with stupidity. That's what it comes from. Now, of course, if there's rape, if there's incest, if there's all types of things of that nature, then these things are taken into consideration. But again, why did it take you 6 months to decide to kill the baby that you got from rape? That's not normal. So the fact that the on one side, the liberals, the lefties, they literally want to allow women to murder these babies, so long as they're inside their body, which literally would mean a day before the due date, they're allowed to kill them in some places. Where on the other hand, you're telling them, listen, okay, you want to have these things, even if you want to compromise within the first 40 days. But no, they want a permission to pretty much do whatever they want, whenever they want. Literally like beasts and animals. Even animals don't do this. But the point being is that you have yourself laws according to the Torah. There is a time that an abortion is necessary to save a life. There's a time where it's not even considered an abortion, which, like I said, it's within the first 40 days under certain circumstances, not all circumstances. But needless to say, a person that is simply careless, ignorant, or just oblivious altogether about the laws of the Torah, they will be judged for it, and they'll be judged very harshly. as a result of their actions, simply because the ignorance of the law does not absolve you from the law, not the law of the Torah and not the law of the land. If you didn't know the traffic laws, that doesn't mean that you're allowed to violate them. If you didn't know the tax laws, it doesn't mean that you could forsake them. If you didn't know the law of the land in regards to murder, rape, and pedophilia, it doesn't mean that you're allowed to do all of these heinous crimes. So a person needs to know that so long as you're alive, you're responsible for knowing the laws that it's in the Torah. You're responsible, whether Jew or Gentile, you're responsible for knowing these laws. So a person that forsakes those laws, violates those laws, is going to be punished. Now, if a person has made those mistakes and is now wants to do tshuva, wants to repent, the first step is to obviously never do it again. Second step is to put a fence to protect yourself from being enticed or in a position to repeat that same sin. The third step is to cry over it hysterically, to say, I'm sorry to God, as much as you possibly can. How do you know when HaKadosh Baruch Hu in essence accepted that tshuva? Well, there's going to be two things that will follow. One is that you're going to be tested again. The same test will be given to you at some point or another. The fourth step is that Hashem, the one that knows what's hidden, he comes and he tests the person with the same woman, with the same place, with the same act, at a different time to see if you really did tshuva or you simply just didn't get a chance to sin again. If he tests you and you pass, Hashem stamps your file as a real Baal tshuva, as a person that completed their tshuva. Now, how would you know that he did it? He doesn't send you a text message or a WhatsApp or an email. How would you know? Your remorse, your suffering from that sin will be will be very different. It won't be. You won't feel guilty for that sin anymore. And again, if you don't feel guilty for it already right now without doing tshuva, that means you have no idea what you did. That means you haven't even started step number one. Step number one is stopping. Step number two is building that fence, which requires learning, requires changing your lifestyle. Step number three is to literally say, I'm sorry, and to cry over it, and to mourn over this sin, over the violating God's Torah, violating the gift that he gave you. So a person that has followed the first three steps will feel the outcome of step number four. When Hashem stamps their file that they have completed the tshuva, if you're still sorry about your past, a specific act that you did, it doesn't mean that you're an evil person. It simply means that you have more tshuva to do. That's it. That's all it means. It means you need to do more in order to complete your tshuva. And there's a test. I actually had several times where students of mine told me, listen, I'm already about tshuva for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, and everything has been good. But all of a sudden, I'm getting this unrealistic, unnatural desire to make the same sin that I used to make 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm getting desire to go with a non-Jewish woman. I'm getting a desire to be with a non-Jewish man. I'm getting desire to go do crack. I'm getting desire to be a homo again. I'm getting desire to whatever, to do all types of things that I know are not allowed. I don't even know why I'm getting them. I said, Baruch Hashem, that's the test. That's the test. You're stage number 4. Hashem saw your whole last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. He saw what you're doing. You finished number 1. You finished step number 2. You finished step number 2, which is extraordinary because most people don't even know about step number 3. Now you're at step number 4. You passed that test. Your file is clean. Your file is clean. You should dance. Dance all the way. Dance all day. After you pass that test, dance in the middle of your living room. Dance as much like you just completed the shas. Why? You literally remove this thing and you have stamp from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You pass the test. But if you fail, start again. Start again. Start again. Either way, it's important for a person to know that abortion, in more cases than not, and meaning the majority of cases, is considered murder, according to the Torah. And one of the primary sources of it is parashat Noach. Next question. Kvod Rabbi, will you please explain what happened with the tree of knowledge? Because if Adam knew the entire Torah and also had the ability to sin by eating the fruit, how did he not already have the knowledge of good and evil? Also, didn't Adam's first wife already sin by going against him and fleeing? Yeah, so, okay, you're asking multiple questions. The first real wife, the Gemara says that Adam HaRishon had his first wife ended up leaving him and going to marry the Satan. She married the Satan. She became the Lamed Yud Taf that is responsible for immorality. She is in essence the wife of the Satan. So that's one. The second wife, in essence, that's Chava. Some even say third wife. The point being is that the first wife, many don't believe that's the same. It's Chava. It's somebody else. As far as Adam HaRishon had he didn't have the written Torah. He had the oral Torah. So in essence, he had the laws, the different wisdom that is really not comprehensible to us, and certainly initially it's not that he didn't have a evil inclination, but the evil inclination that he had was different. It's different, where his evil inclination was from the outside. The evil inclination that we have was from the inside. What's the difference? How did this transpire? So the Gemara says that why did the serpent want Adam to sin? What was his interest? He obviously is not just bored. Why? He wanted to marry Chava. He saw Chava and he liked her and he wanted to marry her. But he knew that Adam is not going to like this. So what did he do? He said, let me convince the Chava to entice Adam to eat, because God said to Adam that if he eats from the tree of knowledge, he's going to kill him. So once he kills him, then I'll be able to be with Chava. I'll be able to be with Eve. And this is in essence what he did as he tried to do it. In addition to that, part of his enticement was actually this is going to sound strange to some of you, and probably all of you, even the one that know this, is that the serpent committed the act of intimacy with Chava, where his seed went inside Chava. And from there came Cain. So that's also where the evil inclination entered the body of mankind, whereas in the past it was outside of the body. So in the past it was outside of the body, and after this act it was inside the body. And this impurity was in the world in a very powerful way until the time of Mount Sinai. Part of it was removed, part of it is still there, obviously. But you have to also understand is that when we speak about Adam v'Chava, or even Cain, Evel, all of these initial people, that it's not the same thing as talking about somebody today. It's not even it can't even be considered anything equivalent that we have today, because we don't have the concept of what wisdom and purity and holiness Adam HaRishon had. In fact, one of the Chachamim in the Gemara says that he went to the cave of Machpelah because he wanted to take the measurements of the graves. And when he entered there, he saw that the Eliezer, Eved Avraham, who's one of 10 people that never died, was in essence in charge. And he told him, Eliezer, where's your master? And he says, over there with Sarah. He's he's sitting in the lap of Sarah. And you have to wait. I have to ask him if you're allowed to see him. Now, your average person reads this and says, oh, what is this, like a fairy tale? Well, obviously, Avraham passed on already. Again, there's a lot more behind the scenes that people don't understand. The point being is during that visit to Me'arat Machpelah, the Gemara says that this sage was told to stop after he spoke to Avraham Avinu. He wanted to see more, and he was told to stop, no more. And he says on his way out, he saw the heel of Adam HaRishon, and he says the light that heel has is brighter than the sun. Brighter than the sun. We're talking about a few thousand years after Adam HaRishon was already dead. But the point being is that the whole concept of Adam and Chava is taught in such a fashion as if they were just regular people and regular looks, regular wisdom, regular responsibility, regular role in the world. And we have to know that if a person, is a normal person, that means that the person that they love the most is themselves. Everybody's number one love is themselves. That's what, in essence, what makes you normal, because you want to live. If you didn't love yourself, then you wouldn't want to live. So if you're a normal person, you love yourself, you want to live, and there are obviously certain things that a person may not be happy about themselves, but there are certainly things that they like about themselves. And if a person is delusional and foolish, they're also arrogant about certain things that they have, as if they really did it. The point being is that whatever a person has that they find good about themselves, and whatever a person sees in somebody else that they think is good, whether it be wisdom or it be anything else, they have to understand that if you combine all of that and multiply it by any number, you still wouldn't get to true understanding of what Adam HaRishon was, because Adam HaRishon, he is the original soul. He is the only one that was created literally by the hand of God. And his soul broke up into all of the souls that exist in the world today. And hence the reason why we still pay for his violation of his commandment that Hashem told him not to do. And we pay for it because our soul technically is guilty. We were there. So the point is that Adam, making that mistake, and let's say even if you want to add to that argument, the whole issue that happened with Cain and Abel. Few realize that Cain came from Adam and Chava. So he wasn't some gangster, loser, idiot that didn't know Aleph Bet. This is a person that's literally the son, the first son that existed in the world. So it's Abel was also Kodesh Kodeshim. He reincarnates as Moshe Rabbeinu and Noach and so on. But the point is, these were very, very unique souls. These were very unique people, and they cannot be compared to the later generations, because their whole existence was not just to fulfill their own individual roles and not just for the sake of populating the world, but their whole existence was part of the reason for the existence of the world and how the world exists, as far as the whole battle between good and evil. The whole battle between good and evil is the reason why certain things happened, were allowed to happen, and why they transpired the way that they are. So it's not just the very simple explanation of, he made a mistake, he liked the tree, he wanted to eat from the tree, and because he didn't care. No, there's a lot more to it. In fact, Adam HaRishon, the Gemara says Adam HaRishon was so extraordinary that when Kadosh Baruch Hu created him, the angels thought he was God in human form. And they were about to bow to him. All the angels I'm talking about. Angels. We're not talking about people. Angels were about to bow to him and say, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And that's before they did it. And obviously, forsake HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts him to sleep. And at that moment, they knew that it cannot be God, because God does not sleep. But those angels still were enamored by Adam HaRishon and were making barbecue for him. That's what they were doing during that time. They were actually making barbecue cooking for Adam HaRishon, serving him as if he's their king in this world. This is a person that was able to see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. This is a person that had the wisdom, that was able to see the essence of whatever creation his eyes can look at. Meaning, I look at, let's say, a bear. Okay? And we think, a bear, we could assess that this bear is strong based on his size, he's heavy based on his size, he is fast, he is hungry, we can assess those things. But when he would look at a bear, he would literally know the essence of the bear, everything that the bear is about, more than the bear himself knows about himself. And hence the reason why Hashem told Adam to name all of the creatures. How would he name them? He named them based on the essence of the creature itself. Hashem brought every creature in front of Adam HaRishon, which obviously in itself is a miracle of all miracles. How do you bring the kangaroo, the zebra, the snake, and also the fish, and also the dog, and everything else all in front of him in a matter of seconds, for him to look at this creation and know the essence of the creation, in essence becoming a partner with Hashem. Hashem wanted him to have a ownership, a stake in the creation, and he gave him the ability to see the essence of the creation and thereby name that creature based on his essence. The horse was named based on his essence, that he likes to run into war, into battle. The dog was named based on the fact that he's very loyal to his master. Is kulolev, kelev, kulolev, and so on and so forth. So Adam HaRishon named the animals not with what sounded good, but rather because of what this animal was, what this creature was, and it was across the board. So obviously this is not normal wisdom. Obviously this is something that is above and beyond our comprehension, to say the least. And the point is that the reason why he sinned was not because of some lust to go against God, but rather because he understood that since he is material, he's physical, that means that he is, he's limited. He's limited as far as at some point he was going to die. So what he wanted to do is that he wanted to serve Hashem forever. He wanted to serve Hashem forever, and he reasoned that the only way he could ever do that, and the only way that he could serve Hashem forever, pray to Hashem forever, sing to Hashem forever, learn his Torah forever, the only way is if he lives forever. And he reasoned with that eating from the tree of knowledge will allow him to gain the knowledge of where the tree of life is, because if you look at the parashat Bereshit, it says that the tree of life was in the middle of the garden. But where's the middle? Where's the middle of the garden? Where's the beginning of the garden? Where's the end of the garden? So he didn't know where this tree of life was. We know he knew where the tree of knowledge was because he ate from the tree. But where the tree of life is, he didn't know, because it says in the Torah, Betoch Hagan. It was in the middle of the garden. Where is the Betoch Hagan? He didn't know. So he ate from the tree of knowledge in order to gain the knowledge of where the tree of life is, and thereby want to go to the tree of life, to eat from the tree of life, so he can live forever and serve Hashem forever. Hence the reason, if you look at Parashat Bereshit, why the first thing that Hashem did after he punished them is he kicked them out of the garden, and as it says in the verses, lest they eat from the tree of life. Meaning the first concern that Hashem had was that to make sure that Adam HaRishon and Chava were kicked out of the garden so they don't have the opportunity to eat from the tree of life. Why wasn't God concerned about them eating from the tree of life in the beginning? Why didn't he say to Adam HaRishon, don't eat from the tree of life? Why did he only say, don't eat from the tree of knowledge? Because he knew that despite all of his knowledge, he blocked the vision of Adam HaRishon's ability to see where the tree of life is. That Hashem decides what a person can see or what they can't see. So just like Hagar, the servant of Abraham and Sarah, she was crying that there was no water for her and Ishmael, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made her see the well. Chachamim say, that the well was the well created? Because we know nothing is created, new after creation. So where did this well come from? The well was always there. She just did not have the ability to see it because Hashem didn't want her to see it. He wanted to pray first. Meaning, literally, the well was right next to her. It's not like she had to go look through the bushes and figure out where it is. It was literally right next to her, but Hashem simply did not allow her to see it. It's just like, for example, sometimes you lose something. You lose a key, you lose money, you lose something, and you can't find it no matter where you look. You could be looking for a week straight, 2 weeks straight, 4 weeks straight. You have no idea. The next thing you know, one day you look at, it's right on top of your screen. Literally was right in front of you the whole time. How come you didn't see it? Are you blind? No, Hashem did not want you to see it. Did not want you to see it. So Hashem did not want Adam and Chava to see the tree of life because he did not want them to eat from that tree. So he doesn't have to forbid them from eating that tree because they don't have the capability of eating from that tree. But what Adam reasoned is that since I want to serve Hashem and not serve myself, and I want to serve Hashem forever, I need to know where that tree is. I need to know where that tree of life is. And there's no way for me to know without the tree of knowledge. So I could forsake, in essence, what Hashem said by eating from the tree of knowledge in order to serve Hashem even better, meaning making a mitzvah in the way of sin. Because you figure, listen, okay, so I made a mistake once, but I'll be able to serve Him forever and make up for it. So, in essence, from here we see one of the sources of why a person cannot make a mitzvah in the way of sin. But that was the reasoning, if you will, of Adam HaRishon. And the point is that it did not come from the normal common sense, the normal mentality of a human being, and it cannot be compared to the regular person. In fact, even what I'm telling you is certainly not the complete story. Only Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and anyone that's not in this world anymore is entitled to the real story, and not even everyone over there. Where we know from the Zohar Kadosh that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when he was in the cave, Adam HaRishon came to him. You know, everybody came to visit Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He merited to see things that are out of this world. Moshe Rabbeinu came to study with them. Eliyahu Navi came to study with them. The Avot came to study with them, and even Adam HaRishon. The Zohar Kadosh says Adam HaRishon came to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and told him, "You are the only one that figured out what's the real deal, what actually transpired over there at Gan Eden. I want you to promise me that when you go up to Shamayim, when you come to Gan Eden over here, the upper heaven, you don't tell anybody my secret. It's too embarrassing for me. It's too embarrassing for me to discover." Meaning that even everything that the sages said, which is what I'm quoting, is not the full story. It's not the full story, because the full story is something apparently you have to be entitled to know it if you go up to Shamayim, or if you're Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which obviously I hope that I'll be here for a little longer so we can help more people do TeShuva until 120 or until Mashiach comes. And certainly I'm not even the dust under the feet of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai or any of the holy people that we mentioned today. But needless to say, a person needs to know that these are not regular people, and of course not fall into the trap of the Sitra Achra himself, where stupid people that create a new Torah tell you that, no, he sinned because God wanted him to sin, because that's the whole plan. This is complete apikosut. This is heresy to the highest extent, because we know what the Masoret is, we know what the Gemara says, what the Zohar says, and no one says that it's because God wanted him to sin, because God doesn't contradict himself. He doesn't say don't do it and then he really wants you to do it. That's treating God like a human being, chas v'shalom. That's, closer to Christianity and idolatry than it is anything remotely close to Judaism. But a person needs to know that this, even in its face value, it's not normal circumstances. And really, it's the same concept with everything else that's in the Torah that cannot really be compared, pound for pound, if you will, as they say, to the things of today. Hashem put the Torah and the mitzvot in such a fashion that even the average person can understand and relate to them. But let us not think for a moment that that's the complete story, because certainly we know that there's no end to it. And the more a person learns Torah, the more they realize that there are so many big parts to the story that were missing from what they knew, that even if they have a whole dialogue of everything I just told you, if you figure out what the next piece of the puzzle is, it would seem as if you didn't know anything in comparison. Meaning, I just spoke, for maybe 20 minutes about Adam HaRishon. And it seems like this is obviously much more than just the basics of what Torah is telling you, and it gives you some more context to what's there. But if you figure out, and you see it in some of the other sources, some other parts of the puzzle of Adam HaRishon, literally your head will explode, because it was almost like what you just learned is inconsequential in comparison to what the story becomes after the next piece. And guess what? After you get the next piece of that story, of Adam HaRishon, you'll see that everything you knew thus far was literally as if you do nothing, as if you knew nothing until you had that third piece. And after you get the fourth piece, everything you knew during the first three pieces will be as if it's nothing. And that's the beauty of the Torah, is that it's not just everything is in it, is that the more you delve into it, the more you acquire of it, the more you realize how much more you are missing This is the reason why the more a person learns Torah, the more they become humble. They don't become humble because they're less knowledgeable. They become humble because the more information they know, the more holiness they know, the more they realize how much more is out there, because they realize that as much as they know, it literally is becoming more and more inconsequential, insignificant in comparison to the greater pie that they discovered. Such as a person that thought that his whole world was his mommy's belly. One day he comes out of the world and he sees, wow, it's a big world. And he thinks the room that he was born is the whole world. And little does he know, then he's in a hospital. And he thinks the whole hospital, that's the whole world. Yeah, this is the place. This is the whole world. I finally discovered it. It's huge. It's beautiful. All these bells and whistles and people screaming. That sounds like it's music. And then he thinks that's the whole world. But then he leaves that hospital and he goes outside. He sees, wow, that's a whole big world. Look at this trees and mountains and all types of things on the way home. And he thinks that's the whole world. But then he gets older and he learns in class at Bezrat Hashem's school and that there is a telescope, and that telescope will show him what's happening in the sky, in the heavens, in outer space. And he realizes that everything he thought is the big world, that he thought maybe it's his mommy's belly, the hospital, the room in the hospital itself, the outside, his house, his city, his country, the world itself is literally inconsequential when he sees just the outer sphere of the globe itself, and when he realizes that even that is inconsequential in comparison to the Milky Way that he's in. He realized, wow, this is huge beyond comprehension. And then when he realizes that that Milky Way is inconsequential in comparison to the universe, that's something unbelievable, how big it is, how extraordinary it is, how precise it is, that he really realizes there is literally zero knowledge that I have about the creation. Zero. Because as much as I thought I knew everything when I was inside my mommy's belly. Because I thought I knew the whole world. Then I realized the world is bigger than I thought. Then I realized it's bigger than I thought. And on and on and on. And the person realized, this is symbolic to the Torah. The more a person learns, the more they realize how much more Torah there is. And what we have in this world, which is literally millions of books. We have, the Jewish people have the greatest documented history, documented law, the greatest studying material that ever existed in history. No nation can compare. There is no nation in the world that has even remotely close to the amount of books that we have in the Torah. And everything we have in this world is coming from Rabbi Akiva and his 5 students. Everything that we have in the world is coming from Rabbi Akiva and 5 students. Not the 24,000 students. We have Rabbi Akiva and his 5 students. That's what we have. We don't have the Torah of those 20 plus thousand students. We certainly don't have the Torah of the generation of knowledge, and definitely we don't have the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Everything we have is the same thing they have, but they had much more. Why? Because again, there was the Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave at Mount Sinai is different than the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu has. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, I believe it is, it says that when Moshe Rabbeinu was at Mount Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the Torah. But what we got, what Hashem gave us through Moshe Rabbeinu, is the essence of the Torah. The essence of it, meaning it's not even the whole thing. It's the essence of it. Why? Because we can't handle the whole Torah. And even the essence of it had to be watered down, if you will, through the generations into what we have today. Now, of course, it's the same truth, it's the same laws, everything is the same, but there is much, much more wealth of wisdom from the past that's not changing the law per se, but rather is giving a whole lot more color. That a person can acquire an endless amount of Torah if they toil enough to earn the merit for Hashem to gift them this Torah. So you could say it's not humanly possible for a person to read these millions of books. What's the point of having them? Because although it's not humanly possible to read all of those books, it is humanly possible to try to read everything and learn everything and do everything you possibly can in your human powers. And as a person learns more and literally begs Hashem to give him more, not by crying only and saying, please give me, but by showing how much they love the Torah, by literally stealing time from everywhere they possibly can in order to learn Torah during that time. During the time they're in the elevator, during the time they're at a bus stop, during the time that they're in a break of some kind, during times that is available to them, and needless to say, during a schedule that they have in the morning and at night, when a person does everything they possibly can to learn Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gifts them a whole lot more than what they would be able to do in a natural way. And then again, they study again, they do more, and again, Hashem gifts them more. And this is, Baruch Hashem, something that a person can see literally with their own eyes if they so merit to have it. And this is actually the explanation of how great giants such as the sages that we have in our generation and previous generation, the Rav Ovadias, the Rav Eliashivs, the Steipler Gaons, the Rav Kanievskis, the Gaon Mivilna, their wisdom is incomprehensible to the average person or even to a Chacham. It's just that most people only know a few stories about them and don't truly understand their wisdom unless they start learning their work. So if we can't even comprehend the magnitude of the wisdom of the sages of our current generation or previous generation, needless to say, we cannot understand the wisdom of Adam HaRishon, and of course we cannot understand the wisdom of the Torah itself, rather than when we don't even have the complete understanding or even a scratch of the surface understanding of the essence of the Torah. So it behooves us to toil and learn as much as we possibly can every day. So each day we're in essence going to earn ourselves a little bit more, a bigger share of the Torah, a little bit more that Hashem will give us a little bit more Torah. And that's why, by the way, in the beginning, the tradition is in the beginning of every Talmud, there is in the cover of every Talmud is to have a specific blessing that you say before you start studying for the day, and that you know that one part of the blessing is that you know that God is the one that gives knowledge. This is a verse in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 6, and also in Psalms 119. You know that God is the one that gives knowledge. Not you acquired knowledge because your brain works in a certain way or your memory is a certain way, but rather that God gives knowledge, but He only gives knowledge to those that love knowledge, says the Gemara Masechet Brachot in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So the key is to know that there is the basic meaning, there is the more elaborate commentary on it, there is the things that you learn from it, and there's also the secret parts. And there's pardes. Pardes is pshat, remez, drash, and sod. There's 4 aspects of the Torah, and each one obviously has the different faces, and each one has the different facets, and all of that is still, in essence, considered the essence of the Torah, because the Torah is endless, so much so that this is what Be'ezrat Hashem we will be able to learn after we complete our task in this world, and we go up to the Shamayim and we want to learn. You could learn in the yeshiva of Moshe Rabbeinu. You'll be able to learn at the yeshiva of Rabbi Akiva, or the yeshiva of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, or yeshiva of Avraham Yitzchak, or Yaakov. Each one has their own yeshiva. Each one of them has different parts of the Torah that they study. And you could even go to the yeshiva of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now you'd ask yourself, why wouldn't everybody just learn in the yeshiva of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Why would anybody go to the yeshiva of Avraham Avinu? All the kavod to Avraham Avinu, or to Moshe Rabbeinu, or to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but surely it's not like the yeshiva of Hashem, right? I mean, that's the thing. The Torah is endless. The Torah is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. In essence, he gifts certain parts of the Torah to different one of his loyal servants. So what you can learn in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that's what you can learn there. What you could learn in the yeshiva of Avraham Avinu, that's what you could learn over there. And it's a beautiful thing. And the more a person goes and delves into it, they literally, honestly, when I think about it, I want to start, crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, saying, thank you very much for everything you gave us. It's mamash, we don't thank him enough for simply having the merit to study his Torah. the merit to study Torah. That in itself, a person should dance in the middle of the street, regardless of all of their problems and all of their difficulties. Just the fact that you have the merit to learn Torah, in itself, it's worth it to come to the world, just to learn Torah one day. Learn Torah one day and the rest of life suffer, it's worth it to come to the world. If a person truly understands what Torah is, they would literally dance in the middle of the street because they have the ability to learn Torah. For one day, even if they have to suffer for the rest of their life, it's worth it. That's when a person truly understands what Torah is. Bezrat Hashem, one day we'll understand what Torah is. Bezrat Hashem. Okay. Next question. Thank you very much for that question. It, Baruch Hashem, sparked some interesting things. I tried to make shidduchim and someone asked me if everyone has a soulmate or some men and women come to this world and are supposed to remain single. Perhaps they said no to their mazal. Well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 2a, says that a person is given a shidduch based on his actions. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that decides that when he creates a person at the time of creation, which is at the time the seed of the father goes into the mother. At that moment, there's an angel, the Gemara Masechet Nida, page Yud Gimel, 13b, says that there's an angel named Laila that goes up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and brings that seed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what will be with this seed? What will be? I think it's actually 15, not 13. But anyway, page. But anyway, this angel comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, what will be with this seed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What will be with this seed? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this seed will be such and such, and he will be such and such tall, and such money, and he will, and this is going to be what he's going to do. And also he decides that who this seed is going to marry. So the shidduch of the person is already decided at the time of their creation. Now the actions of a person can ruin that. And that's in essence what the Gemara is saying in Masechet Sotah. Or can help it. Meaning, if, let's say, when he's created, he was created in a unholy way. His mom was Nida. His father was not even our husband. And he came to the world. Surely he came to the world in such a circumstance because of his own doings of the previous carnation. But nonetheless, he came to the world. And he came to the world, let's say, at a level 2 of holiness. Okay, he came to the world at level 2 of holiness. And Hashem says, at a level 2 of holiness, this would be the zivug. He would find some girl that's also level 2 holiness. She has no arms and legs. She doesn't care about nothing. Just like the way he came to the world. Now, one day, he watches the shurim of a rabbi that's going to give him the truth. And he decides to do tshuva. And he changes his life. And he starts keeping Shabbat. And he starts keeping his brit. And he elevates himself from a level 2 to a level 7. Or 8. Now surely, that level 2 woman that was designated to him is no longer his. It wouldn't be fair. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him based on his actions. That means if he's at a level 7, he gets a new shidduch. There's a new shidduch. A new neshama is designated to him. Where does the neshama come from? From somebody else that lost theirs. Somebody else that he was, let's say, at a level 7 or 8. But he decided to go off the derech. He wanted to watch baseball instead of Shiurei Torah. He wanted to go to the movies instead of Shiurei Torah. He wanted to eat bacon instead of eating kosher. And he dropped from a level 7 or 8 and he tried to drop to a level 2. During that process of wasting seed and eating taref and all that stuff, he dropped and he also lost his shidduch. Because it cannot be that Hashem is going to give him a sarai imenu and he's acting like Esav. So he loses his shidduch. And where does his shidduch goes? His shidduch goes to the other guy, the first guy, the TeShuva that got closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In essence, they made a switch. So certainly HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mezavek zivugin. He's the one that has a mate. But what a person will get is based on their actions. Generally speaking, if a person is seriously doing tshuva, working on their character traits, eliminating their arrogance, surely they will be gifted with a fantastic shidduch. But the people that don't have shidduchim, it's usually because they're arrogant, it's usually because they're too picky, it's usually because they haven't even started doing tshuva, or they started but they're at some type of pause and they don't even realize it. It's usually because they're not where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants them to be, and even sometimes it's because they're doing certain things that is making them keep lowering themselves to lower levels. Where he was ready, he was doing tshuva, he was learning Gemara, he was doing all the wonderful things, and then one day he said, you know what, I'm going to waste seed. Why? I feel like it. He wastes heat and he drops himself from a level 6, he's back to a level 1. Now he thinks it's just one act. One act, well, how could one act ruin 5 years worth of work? Well, that one act, 5 years worth of work, you could do tshuva and get yourself back up there, but that one act, yes, it could ruin 50 years of work. 50 years, not 5 years, 50 years, 90 years of work. That one act. So that's the thing. A person does not truly understand the consequence of their actions. But needless to say, if a person is loyal to Hashem and is constantly trying to grow closer to Hashem, certainly they will find a fantastic shidduch much better than they could have thought for themselves. They just have to be loyal to Hashem. And B'ezrat Hashem, they succeed. And B'ezrat Hashem, you succeed in helping them. In fact, actually send me a WhatsApp message with a, I guess, if you have a website or something like that, because there's quite a few people that ask me for shidduchim. Once in a while I try to help people, but I rather give the work to other people because it simply takes too much time. Okay, next. I know this girl in the community who has been dating a guy for over a year now. She's ready to get married, but he says that he has some issues to resolve first. How long on the average should a couple date before marriage? It's already too much. There's no such thing as dating for a year or over a year. No, that's promiscuity. That's not dating. That's acting like you're married without the commitment. It's already too long. He doesn't want to get married right now. The end. Bye-bye. If he wants to be with you, he has to marry you. Doesn't want to be with you, then doesn't want to marry you. Sometimes you have to know what you have. The only way you find out what you have is by losing it. No. Dating in general in the Jewish world should be no more than just a few months. You talk a few times on the phone. You get to meet each other. You meet each other. You talk a little bit. You discuss serious things about life. What's your goal in life? What's her goal in life? How many kids do you have? And that progresses. There's obviously no intimacy whatsoever. There's no touching whatsoever. But you talk a lot. And that's why you want to do as much of it as possible. And if you're really serious about things, you could literally decide to get married within a few dates. I have one of my students that, Baruch Hashem, there's a movie about them that we made. It's called the Torah Love Story. It's on our channel. And these two beautiful students are they're something very, very special. And I'm not really sure if in the movie they said it or not, but their shidduch was literally I think after the first or second date, they already wanted to marry each other without ever touching each other, chas v'shalom, without ever, mamash, kosher, the badats. They already knew within a matter of one date or two dates that they wanted to marry each other. And I had to convince them, no, you're not ready yet. More dates. I had to literally push them to have more dates just to make sure, because even though I already knew that this would be a good match, because they're both my students, and so I knew the ideology is there, and if the attraction is there, then nothing else should stop them. But the point being is that literally they were already ready to get married after the first or second date, something completely unusual. I had to force them to talk more and date more, literally a few more times at the very least, so we've covered all ground. And Baruch Hashem, they're happily married, beautiful family, beautiful marriage, beautiful bracha, tzlacha. Why? Because they followed the Torah. They followed the Torah. They refrained, controlled themselves. They followed what they're supposed to. Baruch Hashem, they have a blessing. Some people, they do whatever they want. I have people that they listen to only part of what I say. But then I have people that listen to everything that Torah says. And Baruch Hashem, they merit. I had a young man that Baruch Hashem did tshuva. He didn't know what is going to entail in this new life of tshuva. He just knew that he wants to change his life. Little did he know that the love of his life has been waiting for him. His whole life. He just didn't know she existed. But Baruch Hashem, Siyat Nishmaya, within a year of his tshuva, he not only did tshuva, started learning Torah, started putting on tefillin, started putting everything. Literally, heaven and earth difference. Literally, this is one of these people that's special, that just goes full force. Kedusha, the first time he ever heard me mention that issues of Brit, he stopped. Literally, 35, 40 years of sins stopped in a single day. Like one of these special neshamot that's like directly tuned with the will of God. He hears it once, that's it, that's all he needs. One time he heard, no issues of Kedusha, stopped immediately. Doesn't make a difference. Desire, no desire. No girlfriend, no guy, nothing. Heard you have to learn Torah, became number one. Heard you have to give tzedakah, made it a priority. Heard you have to be kosher. Literally, what he heard he did. What he heard he did. Something very, very special. And literally, just like he expedited his tshuva and did everything as soon as he heard it, he did it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu also expedited his life, where in a matter of literally, I think it was less than a year, less than a year, he did tshuva, he found the love of his life in a kosher shidduch, which Baruch Hashem we merited to connect with, which was also a student of ours, which is the best things in the world, because it's almost like it's like a cheat sheet, like you already know the end of the game, you already know the end of the game, and literally within a matter of, I don't know, a few weeks, a month, these two people that were formerly completely strangers to Torah, two tzaddikim, two beautiful people, Baruch Hashem, got married, kids, everything against all odds, against all family suggestions, against everything. Baruch Hashem, family, beautiful. And there's, Baruch Hashem, many, many stories like this. Many stories like this. When a person goes, with the Torah, they're going with God. When you go with God, you don't lose. There is no losing. It's just that when people don't believe that God cares or God's watching, they start making up their own rules. And that's the problem. So you have to stick to the Torah full force. And the Torah tells us there is no such thing as dating for a year. No such thing. A few times, a month, 2 months, 3 months, as many times as you need to get to know each other and decide you're going to marry each other. But that means you can't touch even each other's hands. There is no way that a guy can hold himself back and a girl can hold herself back for over a year. No way. Maybe if she lives in a different country, and he lives in a different country, they never see each other. If it's a relationship over the phone. And even that's probably not likely because, there's Kol Ha'isha Irvad, the voice of a woman is like, her nakedness. Point is that if he's not ready to marry you, then he's not the right guy. He needs to grow up. He needs to, if he wants to take the gifts that Hashem gave you, he has to, commit to being the owner of them. And not, putting them up for sale whenever he doesn't feel like he wants them anymore. Treat yourself like the princess that you are. Treat yourself like the daughter of God that you are, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the prince that you deserve. Next question. Question from Jack. Does the mitzvah of onah in Jewish intimacy encompass foreplay, or if she likes dressing up as characters, it's called cosplay? Shem Yishmo. There is these types of questions I'm going to answer throughout the series of Jewish intimacy, and one of the things I tried to cover so far in the first 2 lectures is that there is the halacha, and then there's kedusha, meaning halacha, pshat of the halacha, a man is allowed to do what he wants to do with his wife. The Gemara says it, the Rambam says it, that a man is allowed to do what he wants with his wife. If, as long as he doesn't waste seed, as long as the seed, when it comes out, it goes into the pocket that's inside his wife, that's there for reproduction, he's allowed to do what he wants. That means if he wants to do this play or that play, this type or that type, enjoy yourself. You want to do it, you can. So halachically, as far as the pshat, halacha, blank piece of bread, allowed. The question is, what do you want the outcome to be? What do you want the outcome to be? If you want it to be a child that's a holy child, a child that's going to bring you honor, a child that's going to bring glory, a child that's going to bring holiness, a child that's going to be respectful, a child that's going to bring blessing to the house, surely you understand that Hashem is not going to bring some circus play and turn that into the next Ramban. He's not going to make any type of a private pornography film turn into the next Gaon Mivilna. Perhaps, maybe a little calf or a donkey or hopefully not someone wicked. But the point is, you have to understand, you get what you pay for. So that's in everything. So the more a person sanctifies themselves, the more a person is going to get the results that belong to that sanctification. The more a person is going to purely act like to fulfill their animalistic acts, the more the child will be like an animal. You get what you pay for. Now again, that kid could still do tshuva at some point, could still get good education, could still do certain things that are going to elevate himself, but surely it's not going to be the same thing as getting a holy neshama from day one. So again, a person thinks that if they're going to dress up and dance and I don't know, have some type of I don't know, some roller coaster in their bedroom, they think that that's what's going to bring them pleasure. That means that they actually don't know what pleasure is. That means that they don't know what pleasure is, because if you understood what Kedusha is and the physical feeling Kedusha earns, you would literally look at all of the filth of the pornography world and the delusions of people's mind as simply like fecal matter. You would look at it like the garbage that you can't wait for the garbage guys to pick up, because you could already smell it from inside your house. Like, I'm not just talking about holiness, yielding good kids, and connecting the husband to the wife, and there's more love, and you're more connected to God. I'm talking about the actual physical feeling. The physical outcome of a holy act supersedes all of the pleasures that the filthy world has times a billion. This is tested and proven. But again, if a person only saw darkness his whole life and you tried to explain to him blue, it's hard to get to a person to see that. Hence the reason why you have to build it up. You have to talk about certain things, certain acts. But needless to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not shortchange us in anything. Everything that he said is forbidden. There is a way to enjoy something that will give you the same pleasure or more in a permissible way. Needless to say, the thing that he calls holiness is not going to be something that he's going to say, oh, it's holy and thereby less enjoyable. No. The outcome of the act, both physically and needless to say spiritually, does end up yielding you better in every aspect, both spiritual, outcome of result as far as children, and needless to say the actual physical pleasure itself. But again, it requires more work. Any normal person would know, if a person goes into a relationship with his wife and he's simply looking to fulfill his own physical needs as soon as possible, most likely his wife is going to not be happy with him. Why? Because if he's just looking to relieve himself like some dog, caring less about his wife and what, who, what, when, and how, then that means that the act could literally last less than a minute, if that much. And most likely, if he continues in that fashion, his wife is not only not going to want to be with him, but it's very possible she'll find herself a boyfriend on the side. Why? Because her husband treats her like some garbage pail or a tissue. So a person needs to know that the physical aspects of holiness are not lessened. They're increased. They're increased. The effort increases. It doesn't decrease. And the pleasure thereby increases, doesn't decrease. And you also see that the holiness also doesn't only distance you from all the fairy tale types of jumping from an airplane type of pleasures, but it brings you to a place that's much more natural, much more beautiful, much more holy, but also much more pleasurable. So if a person wants to know the basic law, allowed, not allowed, then they could say, listen, as long as it's not wasting seed, allowed. You're right. As long as it's not wasting seed, allowed. But if he wants to get to the ultimate pleasure and success, then surely he needs to do more than just what's allowed. Simple. A person wants to, if they want to satiate their hunger, they could either eat oatmeal, some bag of some seeds that some company put together. He bought it for maybe 35, 40 cents, or maybe today it's probably $1.50, $2. He put some hot water, put it in a cup or a bowl, put hot water on it, finished. That's intimacy in a secular world. It's oatmeal. Oatmeal, hot, sometimes you can even have it cold if you want. That's oatmeal. If he wants holiness, Kedusha, real Kedusha, that's like a 5-course meal of the best chefs that are also Talmidei Chachamim. There's no comparison. There's simply no comparison. Now you can say, yeah, but it takes so much more work. You have to prepare before, you have to prepare after, you have to think, you have to this. Exactly. Okay, so go have oatmeal. Want to go have oatmeal? Go have oatmeal. So both are available. Both will satisfy a certain need. But the question is, what else do you want? What else do you want? If you want the other bells and whistles, Okay, the bells and whistles. You go eat oatmeal, you're eating by yourself at 3 o'clock in the morning, and no one even knows that you existed. 5-course meal is done with special people, special connections, special deals, special conversations, special outcome, special circumstance, special times and special places. Everything special about the 5-course meal. Nobody has a 5-course meal in the middle of the afternoon on their own, in their alone in their little apartment in the middle of nowhere. No, nobody has a 5-course meal. 5-course meals are eaten at specific places with specific people, with specific times and everything else. That's Kedusha. Kedusha is that. Regular intimacy with a roller coaster in the bedroom and some type of swings and all types of strange tools they buy from pipes and whatever crazy stuff people put into their life and into their bodies. That oatmeal. Oatmeal. That's all it is. It's oatmeal. It's simply like, it's all of those pleasures combined will not even get to the 1% of the 5-course meal. And anyone that understands it, either it's because they experienced it or because they learned about it, or a combination of both. But needless to say, the person that wants to see will see that, hey, you know what? That 5-course meal may be hard, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Why? Because if I eat oatmeal, then at best bet, I'm going to watch a shiur Torah or maybe play a video game. 5-course meal, I can meet somebody that can give me a deal. I can do something that can do this. There's 1.5 million different things come out of it. So many benefits come out of this 5-course meal that in itself makes it, just one of those things that makes it worth it. Needless to say, the actual meal itself. Thank you for the question. Next, my cousin wants to do TeShuva. Do it. That's it. That's where it should end. My cousin wants to do TeShuva. Do it. Well, I'll read the rest. What's the best thing to start with? She doesn't know much about how to observe Shabbat. I told her to have her husband begin wearing tefillin and tzitzit. What's the correct approach, secular family? The correct approach is to commit to learning Torah every day, either as a individual, as a couple, but needless to say, they need to learn Torah, both her and her husband. They should watch shiur Torah regularly every single day, and if possible, also read a book. Read kosher books that you could recommend, or you can get from our Kiruv package. They can get the Kiruv package that we have. There's a bunch of books in there, and they can start learning Torah. Learn Torah every single day. As they learn, they apply to their life. Learning Torah is number one. Second thing is applying the thing to their life. I wouldn't push everything on our husband and relieve her. She has to become modest. She has to keep family purity. She has to make sure that the house is kosher and so on and so forth. But the point is that she may not be where she needs to be on day one. So she has to learn in order to get there. But you can't put her in a position where she'll put all of the burden and all of the new changes on her husband only. So they both have to commit to learning and doing. So he learns, she learns, they learn together, they learn independently. And that in essence is going to help them encourage each other to build a beautiful Jewish home. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get some other questions. Does your organization, Rabbi, ordain female Ravs? No, that's only Reformed people do that. Not we are Orthodox organization. There is no such thing as a female Rav. There is only females that call themselves Rav. They could also call themselves Pikachu. They could call themselves, whatever they want. They call themselves a Pokemon or a Build-A-Bear or whatever they want. But Rav, not according to the Torah. There is no such thing as a Rav that's a female. And never will be. Why did Shlomo HaMelech say the day of death is greater than the day of birth? Very good. So there's several reasons that you could do a whole shiur just about this. First and foremost, that a person that comes into the world is coming to the world with a lot of obligations of what he needs to do. A person that leaves the world is completed their obligations. So if he lived a righteous life, then certainly it's better for him his day of death than his day of life, because now he's going to the eternal life of good. Whereas while he's coming into this world and he has all the risks and vulnerability of somebody who's going to live in this world with all the Yetzirah. That's number one. Number two, it's also that when a person completes a task, he also benefits from the fruits of that act. Whereas when he begins the act, There is excitement, but there's really nothing to speak of as far as fruits. So certainly that's another reason. And Shlomo Melech and the rest of the holy people, in Am Yisrael, view this life as a corridor. It's a small little hallway in the great palace that's the world, that's eternity. The death of this world doesn't really mean death like what people translate it to, which is like the end of life, people turn into dust or a tree or some plastic that people are going to recycle. No, the body is simply clothing, like the jacket that I'm wearing or anything else that a person wears. The body is the clothing to the soul. That soul continues, in perpetuity. Now, where it continues to, that's determined based on what they did when they were wearing the body that was their clothing. Next question. But no, my question is, what do the sages say about someone who's lazy? Laziness comes to sin, say Shlomo Melech. So a person that's lazy will be a sinful person. Can non-Jews say Modeh Ani when waking up? Yes. Modeh Ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam she'achzarta bi nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha. You can. It doesn't include the name of God, and it doesn't say that Hashem obligated you to do it like the blessings do. The blessings that we say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. Tzivanu means that Hashem obligated us. That's only for Jews or people that are in the process of conversion. A person that is not in the process of conversion and does not intend to convert should not say the blessings of the Jewish people, because the blessing itself is a lie for them, because Hashem did not command them to make blessings. They can make a blessing with their own words, and they should, but they should not say the blessing text of the Jewish people, because the blessing in itself would be a lie for them, and then they're not allowed to lie. I want to know this, so since I've heard two different things, I guess that's one of the things I said, fine. Baruch Hashem. Hopefully what I said is more in line with your what you heard, or at the very least what you heard is in line with what was said. Next, my question is, when converting to Judaism, how do we choose our ethnicity? Okay, the screen keeps jumping. How do we choose our ethnicity? Someone asked me, what about ethnicity? Screen is jumping, so it's kind of hard. If you guys can stop asking more questions for a second so the screen can stop jumping. I mentioned many different kinds of Jews, Bukhari and Ashkenazi. There is no ethnicity. There's no tribe for the convert. The convert does not have a new ethnicity or a new tribe. They're not part of any tribe. Their tribe will be determined once the Mashiach comes. We learned that from the story of the blasphemer that was the son of Shlomit, that was a Jew, but his father was a non-Jew, so therefore he was not part of any tribe. Converts do not have a tribe. Their tribe will be determined once Mashiach comes, is one of the things that the Mashiach will do. But as far as ethnicity, I mean, if a person is Sephardic, if a person is a convert, generally speaking, the majority of converts in the world are Sephardic. In Israel, all of the converts are Sephardic, but in the exile, it's a mix of both Sephardic and Ashkenazi. I mean, a person can choose to be something else after their conversion, but typically, in Israel, it's only Sephardic. In the exile, you could be Sephardic or Ashkenazi. How do you choose? It's based on your rabbi. If typically it's if your rabbi is a Sephardic, then you would be Sephardic because you're learning a lot from what you're learning from him. If your rabbi is Ashkenazi, then typically you would be Ashkenazi. But again, I have students that are both Ashkenazi and Sephardic. So if it depends who's your rabbi, what kind of rabbi. But as far as that's concerned, but it shouldn't really be something that holds up conversion in any way or anything like that. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Thank you for this wonderful teaching question. According to the law or custom, a guest who eats bread meal at his host's table needs to add the guest blessing during Birkat Hamazon. Does this apply in a case of where one had a bread meal at his own table, but when the meal is from someone else, the host, apply in a case of where one had a bread meal at his own table, but when the meal is... Okay, I think I understand the question. If you are let's just say this. If you are a guest, okay? If you are a guest at somebody else's house or somebody else's place, and it's a meal that has bread where you did motzi and so on. When you say Birkat Hamazon, you have to add a special section that is blessing the host. That's blessing the host. If you are the host, and then your guest needs to add that blessing of being a guest. If you are the host, then the guest has to say that blessing. So even if, let's say, for example, we in my house have the custom similar to what the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, Rabbi Akadosh used to say the Birkat Hamazon out loud, and everybody would answer and listen to him. Whereas the custom today is everybody says their own Birkat Hamazon. They're both right, but it's preferable to do the first one. The reason why the custom changed, where it used to be just the leader of the table saying the Birkat Hamazon and everybody listening, and in essence fulfilling the mitzvah by listening to what he says. The reason that changed is because when a person says Birkat Hamazon, he's asking for all of the blessings that a person could possibly want in this world. Parnasa, kids, marriage, good health, like everything a person could possibly ever want is in Birkat Hamazon. So now, Rabbi Akadosh said in the Gemara that if the person is a selfish person, that means that when he's saying Birkat Hamazon, anytime he says the blessings, he's referring to himself only and not to everybody else on the table. So if that's the case, it's better that everybody read their own blessings because they need the blessings. They want to pray to Hashem to get also the merit and the blessings and the stuff. But if this person is loves his guests and cares about them, and he's not one of these people that want everything for themselves, these greedy people. So when he says the blessings, he really means it, not just for himself but for others. Then surely that's preferable that he should say the Birkat Hamazon for everybody's sake. So let's say you practice what we do at my house, where you are the leader, you're saying the Birkat Hamazon, and you have a guest. Now you're saying the Birkat Hamazon, but when you get to the section of the guest, you stop, you let the guest say that section, and then you continue after that to complete the blessing. If it's the opposite, meaning you're the guest somewhere else, and the Baal Habayit over there, the owner of the house over there, he's the one that's doing the blessing of the Birkat Hamazon, then he should stop and let you do the blessing. Or if he has the common minhag, the common custom, where everybody prays for themselves, then everybody prays for themselves, and when you pray for yourself, because you're the guest, you add that segment to your blessing. I would recommend even saying that segment out loud, so it gives respect and gratitude to the owner of the house, especially the people that prepare the food, usually the wife, and the family that prepared the food. So you say that part loud, not screaming or anything, but loud enough for them to hear you. But nonetheless, the guest is the one that says that segment. The guest, not the owner of the house. Last question for tonight: are women allowed to read Talmud or study it? The Torah works in such a fashion where there is allowed and recommended, allowed and not recommended, and then there is not allowed. And so as far as women studying the Talmud, as far as the law itself is allowed, but not recommended and even frowned upon. The sages have discussed this topic times and time again over the years, and Talmud is not something that women should ever study. The main reason is because most of it does not pertain to their life and to their obligation in the world, and a woman should focus on what she's supposed to be doing in the world and the laws that apply to her. The laws that apply to her do not need to be learned in the Talmud. They could be learned in other books. There's books about modesty. There's the books about the laws of Shabbat, the laws of holidays, the laws of kashrut, the laws of family purity, musar. There's literally an endless amount of things that she needs to learn already, and there's simply not enough time in a day to learn everything she needs to learn, plus that. And so, which usually means the women that tend to learn Talmud, what ends up happening is that they do it because of their ego, they do it because they want to stick out and everybody pay attention to them. And what ends up happening is that they learn the Talmud, but they forsake what they're supposed to be doing. So typically, they're not modest women. Typically, they're not holy. Typically, they're not keeping things. And typically, they're just doing it to show off, like the wicked women that call themselves women of the wall. These are a bunch of heretics, wicked women that, try to do all of the things that they're not supposed to do, and and all the things they're supposed to do and obligated to do, they forsake. So, for example, they go to the Western Wall and they steal a Sefer Torah from the men's side, and then they steal a Sefer Torah from the men's side. Then they have one of the women read it, which is obviously not what you're supposed to do. It's supposed to be read by a man. Although, again, it's allowed for a woman to read from a Sefer Torah, but it's not appropriate to do so. In fact, if a man is able to read from Torah, able to learn Torah, but he chooses to learn or listen to the Torah of a woman, he gets cursed from heaven for doing so. He gets cursed from heaven from learning from a woman. A man is not supposed to learn from a woman because of a lot of different issues regarding immorality, issues regarding to his laziness, and so on and so forth. But the point being is that a woman that is goes as a part of this Women of the Wall, they take the Sefer Torah and pretend like they're guys, and they read it. Then they put on tefillin. Tefillin is a mitzvah for the men, not for women. And the best part about it that shows that they're all losers and heretics and wicked is that what do? They put on a tefillin and they show the rest of their body, meaning that they're all wearing, practically no arms, no legs. They're tank tops and showing their body. So the basics of the basic minimum that is obligated for a woman is to be modest. The basic minimum is to be modest. That's 60% of the mitzvot obligation on women is modesty. So they want to show like they're extra holy by putting on tefillin and reading from a Torah, but they're not even fulfilling the basic minimum of being a kosher woman, which is to be modest. So it shows that it all comes from ego and arrogance and so on. A woman can learn an enormous amount of Torah that is pertaining to her, which is literally thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of books that she could learn. That's the midrashim she could learn, musar she could learn, the Tanakh, the Chumash, the commentaries, the laws themselves that pertain to her, whether it's modesty or Shabbat or holidays or kashrut. There's literally so much Torah that a woman can learn. There's simply no reason whatsoever for her to ever delve into the Talmud, other than to simply create problems for herself and for society, which obviously is not a good idea. Okay, thank you. You guys had amazing questions. I really enjoyed them. Baruch Hashem, hopefully you guys enjoyed them as well. I learned a lot with you guys. Baruch Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless each and every single one of you. Bracha, Atzlacha, Chaim Arukim, Shlamim, Meleim Torah, Mitzvot, Gemilut Chasadim, Nachat, B'ezrat Hashem. You have the Siyata Dishmaya to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the highest level. And this too will allow us to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amen ve'amen. Shalom v'chai everybody. Very happy to announce a major event coming up in Eretz Yisrael. This event is going to be unlike any other we've done as an organization. Last year we had a group of young guys that completed the entire Shas, Bavli, and the Mishnayot in a single year. This year we're going to have the entire foundation of the oral Torah completed in a single night. Our own dear Ephraim, and other Talmidim of the organization. And a single night we'll have the completion of the Shes Bavli, Shes Mishnayot, the Zohar Kadosh, Zohar Chadash, Tikkunei Zohar, and the Shulchan Aruch. Years and years of toil, lots of effort is coming to fruition, and in a single night, all of it will be completed to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. This is going to be a night where many Rabbanim, many Tzaddikim will be joining us at this event. There'll be hundreds and hundreds of people at the event in Eretz Yisrael, including the Rishon LeZion, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, of course, our own very dear Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon. I myself will also be joining, coming to Eretz Yisrael for the first time in many years, to join this monumental event, this monumental Kiddush Hashem, in order to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name, to show Him how much we love His Torah, how dedicated we are to His Torah, and to be able to, Be'ezrat Hashem, give chizuk to Am Yisrael in another way.
בעזרת השם, ארגון בעזרת השם מתעתד לעשות כנס גדול, שם יהיה סיום על עיקרי התורה שבעל פה, שזה סיום כל התלמוד בבלי, סיום כל השישה סדרי משנה, סיום כל הזוהר הקדוש ותיקוני הזוהר, וסיום כל השולחן ערוך. בדרך כלל לוקח זמן כדי לסיים את כל הספרים הללו, 30 שנה, 40 שנה, ובסייעתא דשמיא הארגון בעזרת השם עושה את הכנס לכל כלל ישראל. כולם מוזמנים.
We're looking forward for this event. We're also looking forward to seeing some of you that are going to be joining us. There are going to be some sponsorship opportunities for anyone that wants to be able to be a part of it. And of course, there'll be a opportunity for any of you that want to join us, one way or the other. Last but not least, there will also be a raffle that we'll be announcing very soon for anyone that wants to join the raffle and also be able to do kiruv at the same time. The winner of the raffle will win a flight ticket to Eretz Yisrael and be able to join us at the event. So please look out for more news. Looking forward to seeing you at this event. And Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach.